Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Gained Cosmic Powers. Now before starting, please give this video a like. And subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku's POV. Not everyone is born equal. I learned at the age of 4 that some people possess more power than others. In a world filled with quirks, 80% of the population has some extraordinary ability called quirks. These abilities range from useful to powerful, and even to the downright strange. Meanwhile, the remaining 20% of the population remains quirkless. I was one of the unfortunate few without a quirk, weak, defenseless, and feeling useless. My twin sister inherited a version of our mother's quirk and received all the attention from our parents. I dreamed of becoming a hero like All Might, but the doctor and my parents told me it wasn't going to happen. They urged me to give up on my dream, but I held on tightly to it. After that day, my life turned upside down in an instant. My family neglected me, my friends and sister bullied me, and everyone around me saw me as a waste of space. The only ones who treated me kindly were my aunts, uncles, grandparents, and Adam, the man at the comic book store. He was like another grandpa to me and had moved to Japan for retirement after living in the US with his late wife. He passed away when I was 12, leaving the comic shop to his nephew, Jack, who was a nice guy and offered me a job as a manager when I needed money. My school life was no better. My sister and her friends used their quirks to bully me. The only one who tried to help was Koji. Although he bullied me too, he often tried to heal me because he didn't like how they treated me. He wanted to stand up to them, but I knew he wouldn't be able to do much since he didn't like fighting. It would be 21 against 2, with one of us being quirkless, so there was no need for both of us to end up hurt. I worked out, incorporating cardio and parkour into my routine, which helped when I needed to escape. I also grew to love music and art as a way to express myself without interference. I hid my artwork in a place where no one could see or destroy it. On the last day of school, while I was analyzing MT Lady's quirk, I overheard the teacher discussing the desire to become heroes and students showcasing their quirks. The Bakugo twins dismissed the idea of being grouped with others, claiming that the rest would be lucky to be sidekicks to a D-lister. I sighed at their arrogance. The teacher mentioned that they had good scores and a solid chance of getting into UA, asserting that UA was the only place worthy of them. Then the teacher said something that would change the course of my day. "Mr. Yagi, don't you want to go to UA too?" the teacher smirked. I looked up, realizing the teacher had just sealed my fate. The class erupted in laughter, everyone except the Bakugo twins and Izumi, who glared at me with disdain. "Come on, Odette. Do you really think you could get into one of the greatest schools of all time? You don't even have a quirk," a student jeered. Katsuki rushed to my desk, slamming his hand down while unleashing a small explosion. I stumbled back, looking up at his furious face. "Deku, do you think they would choose someone like you when they could have someone like us?" Izumi added angrily, "We told you once, and we'll say it again. You can't be a hero without a quirk." "Alright, that's enough. Everyone back to your desks," the teacher intervened. I heard Izumi mutter under her breath, "You're going to regret wanting to go to UA." At the end of class, I was packing up while listening to a music sample I had created. As I reached for my notebook, it was suddenly snatched away. I turned to see Izumi and her friends. "Hey Deku, what are you doing?" Izumi taunted. Katsuki laughed. "Look at this, hero analysis for the future number 13. Haha." I rolled my eyes as everyone laughed at my book. Katsuki attempted to explode it, but I snatched it back just in time, slipping it into my backpack. I put my bag on my shoulder and started to leave, but then I felt a hand grip my shoulder from behind. It was Katsuki. "Where do you think you're going?" "We're not done yet," she said, explosions crackling in her other hand. I shrugged off her hand and met her gaze with cold determination. "Yes, we are." I began to walk away, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw an explosion coming my way. I ducked and ran, the others chasing after me. They couldn't use their quirks outside, as it would jeopardize their perfect records. They opted to chase me down instead. I sprinted, leaping over a trash can and through a car window, darting into an alleyway that I hoped would lead to my escape. However, I found myself facing a high chain fence. Turning back, I realized I was cornered. Katsuki stepped forward, fury in her eyes. Deku, you're dead. I knew I had messed up this time. Usually, they would tire of beating me up, but now they seemed intent on making an example of me for defending myself. Behind them, I spotted a fire escape ladder about 10 feet high. An idea formed in my mind. I charged toward the group as Katsuki unleashed explosions from her hands. I leaped over her, using Denki's head as a springboard to grab the ladder with one arm, pulling myself up to safety. What the hell? Denki exclaimed, looking up at me in disbelief. How did he do that? I climbed up a few stairs until I was high enough to get over the fence, but there was barbed wire on it, so I knew I only had one chance. I looked down and saw some of them climbing the ladder to reach me. A metal pole jutted out from the side of the building, strong enough for someone to swing onto it. It was now or never. Izuku hyped himself up. All right, Izuku, you got this. You got this, you got this, you got this. I ran toward the end of the fire escape, hopped onto the ledge, and leapt off to gain momentum for my jump to the pole. I grabbed onto it and swung my whole body weight to try to get over the fence. I let go, closed my eyes, and prepared for impact. I was in the air for what felt like an eternity, but it was only a few seconds. I opened my eyes to see the forest grass rushing up to meet me and executed a rolling landing. I took a moment to catch my breath before continuing to run, ensuring they couldn't follow me. The others looked shocked by my escape, unable to follow because the fence was too high to climb, and they couldn't use their quirks without drawing attention. The last thing I heard was Katsuki yelling at the top of his lungs, his explosions echoing in the distance. Get back here, Deku. Izuku ran into the forest, and after a while, he thought he had lost them. But then he realized a flaw in his plan. He had run in a random direction without food or water, and his phone was useless so far from cell service. As darkness began to settle, worry crept in about how to navigate out of this situation he had made worse for himself. Crap, how am I going to get out of here? While pondering his escape, he spotted what he thought was a shooting star. He watched in awe but quickly realized two things. It didn't glow in all the colors of the rainbow, and it certainly wasn't supposed to be this close. It dawned on him that it wasn't a shooting star at all. It was a meteorite, heading straight for him. Just his luck. The only thing he could think to say was, "No way." He sprinted away as it hurtled closer, slamming into the ground with a massive explosion of dirt. Izuku barely managed to dodge it, feeling a wave of heat wash over him. He ducked behind a large Shinto tree to shield himself from the heat. When he peeked out, he saw a massive impact crater about 10 meters in diameter, with a smoking meteor glowing with strange energy. That was a close one. I should get out of here before anyone else shows up. He started to walk away but felt an inexplicable pull toward the glowing meteor, which was the size of a car engine. As he approached the edge of the crater, the ground beneath him gave way. He fell into the crater and rolled to the ground. Getting up with a grunt, he brushed off the dirt. Now that he was closer, he could see the mesmerizing colors pulsing like a heartbeat. He felt drawn to it. It's calling me. Hesitating for a moment, he ultimately decided to touch it. In an instant, cosmic rays of energy burst from the rock and enveloped him. He felt a searing heat as the energy coursed through him, causing burns to appear on his skin and clothes. He screamed from the intensity, his eyes glowing with golden energy. It felt like an eternity, but it was only a few seconds before everything stopped, and he collapsed to the ground with a thud. His body bore multiple burns, and his clothes were charred from the cosmic energy. Yet, as the energy dissipated, he began to glow with a new power, healing and transforming him into something stronger. 15 minutes later, Izuku started to wake up, opening his eyes to find they had shifted from forest green to an aquamarine hue. His hair, once forest green, had turned snow white. "What's going on?" he groaned, sitting up, still unaware of his transformation or the events that had transpired. Retracing his steps, he noticed that the meteor was no longer glowing. It was drained and had developed a large crack. Confused, he crawled to the edge of the impact crater for one last look at the rock, a question swirling in his mind. Where did all that energy go? As he walked away, he didn't hear the meteor cracking. A chunk fell off, revealing a strange crystalline material inside, but he was already too far to notice. He continued until he found a lake, hoping it would lead him home. Gazing into the water, he caught a glimpse of his new appearance. He jumped back in surprise, caught off guard, but instead of hitting the ground, he began to float in the air. Izuku's POV. I gasped as I looked at my new appearance. Just when I thought I was going to crash to the floor, I realized I was floating. I looked down in disbelief. Izuku, what the did I finally unlock my quirk? Then it hit me. My new look, my newfound power, and the meteor that had once glowed brightly but was now completely drained of energy. Izuku, I must have gained powers from the meteor. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could that even be possible? It must not have been a normal meteor. I rambled on about how this had completely changed my body's chemistry and why I could absorb the energy from that meteor. After I finished my thoughts, I decided to try something a bit reckless. Izuku, okay, this is a really dumb idea. But I need to see if it works. I landed on the ground and jumped as high as I could. I shot off into the air with a loud boom. Izuku, whoa. But too high. I screamed, then regained my balance, standing upright as I looked into the midday sky. Izuku, whoa. This is amazing. I flew around, doing flips and barrel rolls, soaring higher and higher. Then I stopped midair. Izuku, this is just like the comics I read all the time. When the hero discovers he has powers. I dug into my backpack and pulled out a comic book with a superhero striking a heroic pose on the cover. Izuku, can I be like that? A hero? I flipped through the pages, watching the hero save people and stop villains. Izuku, a hero who can bring hope to others? Like All Might or Uncle NG? I looked back up to the sky and then back at the comic book. Maybe. Suddenly, I heard a noise that hurt my ears. I covered them, wincing at the pain. Izuku, what am I hearing and why does it hurt so much? Then I realized I must have developed some kind of super hearing. I focused on the sounds around me, and after a moment, it worked. Izuku, okay, well, that's going to take some getting used to. Time to head home, I said as I flew back down to the ground and into an alleyway. Then I realized something I had overlooked in my excitement. Izuku, I don't know how to land yet. I chuckled nervously. But this is going to hurt. Crash. I hit the ground hard, creating a spider web pattern in the concrete, my head embedded in the floor. I pulled myself out and realized I wasn't dead. I felt pain, but it faded quickly. Izuku, how am I not dead? I should have brain damage or a cracked skull, but nothing. I suddenly realized, oh, the meteor must have given me some kind of enhanced durability. But what's the limit to it? I was about to start rambling again but stopped myself. Okay, just calm down. You can figure this out when you get home. As I walked toward the exit, I spotted Izumi and her friends. Thought to myself, Izuku, thoughts, oh great, just my luck to run into them on my way home. Now I need to, boom. Out of nowhere, a big gust of wind and dust hit the ground. I looked up to see All Might and Magnetic. All Might and Magnetic, heroic voices, hello Ms. Yagi. Izumi, whoa. All Might Magnetic? What are you guys doing here, and how do you know my name? Then All Might transformed into a cloud of smoke, and out emerged. My father? My thoughts raced. Izuku thinks to himself, no, my father can't be All Might, right? Wait, if my dad really is All Might, then that must mean my mom is. Magnetic removed her mask, revealing herself as my mother. I was shocked to learn that both my parents were heroes, All Might, the number 1 hero, and Magnetic, the number 13 hero. All Might, small form, we know your name because we're your parents. He smiled. Inko, yep, you've been wondering what our jobs are, well, it's this. She smiled back. Izumi, whoa, my parents are heroes. This is so cool. Wait, why are you here? All Might, small form, Well, that's because I want you, Izumi Yagi, to inherit my power, one for all. He explained how the quirk is passed down from person to person and how he wanted her to inherit this power. I was shocked that a quirk like that even existed. It broke everything we knew about quirks. Then Izumi asked a question. Izumi, wait, if you have a quirk like that, then why don't you just give it to Izuku? With that power, he can become the hero he always wanted to be. What my dad, Toshinori Yagi, said next changed my opinion of him forever. All Might, I did consider asking him, but I don't think he has what it takes to be a hero. As you see, I'm the symbol of peace for everyone in the world, and I need a strong candidate for the power. I don't see a single ounce of heroism in him, so what do you say? Will you take it? I glared at him from the alleyway, wanting to confront him but somehow managing to keep my composure. Then Izumi answered. Izumi, I accept. She said happily, a smile on her face. After that, I turned back into the alleyway, walking through it to calm myself down. Toshinori had a quirk that could be passed on to others, and he chose his sister who already had a quirk, who had bullied him, mistreated him, and tormented him. He had done nothing wrong, and yet Toshinori, the number one hero, said he didn't have what it takes to be a hero, but his sister did? I found myself in front of an old tree. In my frustration, I pulled my fist back and struck the tree, not realizing the pure white light emanating from my clenched fist. As I hit the tree, it exploded into tiny pieces. Breathing in and out to calm myself, I looked at my fist to see the white light dimming. Izuku chuckles lightly. Whoa. Super strength check. Izuku would become his own hero, for himself and for everyone else, and he knew what he had to do to make that dream a reality. Izumi's point of view. I can't believe it, I really can't believe it. My dad and mom are the number one hero, All Might, and the number 13 hero, Magnetic. And now my father wants to pass on his power, one for all. I woke up the next morning with an amazing feeling in my chest. I showered, got dressed, and prepared for school. As I walked down the stairs, I saw my mom and dad at breakfast, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about today. Morning, Mom and Dad, I said happily. Good morning, honey, Inko replied. Morning, my little angel, All Might said with a smile. I sat down and started eating my breakfast, still feeling that something was off, but I shrugged it off for now. Izumi, come home right after school. I want to train you as soon as possible to inherit one for all, All Might said. I nodded, finished eating and made my way to school. On my way there, I met up with Katsuki and Katsumi. Hey Izumi, he said happily. Hey Katsuki, how's it going? I chatted with Katsuki while Katsumi joined in from time to time. I knew he had a crush on me for a while, but I hadn't found the right words to express how I felt about him yet. We walked into class together and saw the rest of our friends, but I still felt like someone was missing. Then the teacher walked in and began calling the roll. Izuku Yagi? No one responded. Izuku Yagi? Again, no one said anything. Guess he's absent. That was what I had been feeling all day. Deku wasn't here today. That was strange. I hadn't seen him at breakfast or on the walk to school. Later, my friends and I went up to the roof for lunch. We sat, chatted, laughed, and had a good time together. Then I asked the group if they had seen my brother. Hey guys, have you seen my brother today? I didn't see him, Mina said. Me neither, Denki added. No, I haven't, Momo replied. I haven't, Shoto said. But was Deku not home today? Katsuki asked. I nodded in frustration. I didn't see him at breakfast today. Maybe he's still in the forest? Shoto suggested. Well, it's fine. I mean, that nerd always comes back, like the little bug he is, Katsuki said. I'm honestly disappointed in him for not showing up today. It isn't like him, Tenya said, chopping his hand in the air. I'm still shocked he was able to jump over the fence like that, but I'm still feeling the pain from when he used my head as a springboard, Denki said, rubbing his head as he recalled the moment. I'm still shocked too. He jumps as high as me, Ribbit, so you added. Yeah, how did he learn to do that? It's like he's been training for situations like that, Mina remarked. It doesn't matter, he can be a hero with just that. Katsuki exclaimed. Yeah, the nerd is fine, so don't worry about how he did that. Katsumi said. The others nodded in agreement, but I was still thinking about how he did that and how much he must have trained to reach that level. Then I realized something I hadn't thought about before. Hey guys, why did we ever bully Deku? I said in a low whisper. Silence fell over us as everyone stopped talking and thought about why they would bully him, but nothing came to mind, nothing that would justify bullying a quirkless kid. Then Momo spoke up in a shaky voice. It's because we wanted to protect him. We didn't want him to become a hero and end up dying to a villain. We bullied him just because we wanted to protect him. We wanted to protect him, but instead, we ended up putting him in danger, Shoka added. Now that I think about it, bullying someone just because they don't have a quirk isn't manly at all, Ijiro said. I think we need to stop it. We've gone too far with the bullying, and in doing so, we've become villains ourselves. We need to find him and try to make it up to him, I said. Alright, but what if he doesn't forgive us and he still wants to be a hero? Achiko said, looking down sadly. If he forgives us or not is completely up to him. If he still wants to be a hero, then we'll support him, but if he doesn't, maybe we can talk to him about joining a business or support course, Shoto said calmly but sadly. Katsuki got up with a grunt and said, Alright, let's go find the nerd and apologize to him. Where do you think he is? I raised an eyebrow. Katsuki looked at me guiltily. He's probably still in the forest. The only way to get through was by jumping it or something, and seeing that there's barbed wire on the fence. He probably couldn't get out. I felt bad for my brother. I hadn't felt anything for him before, but now I felt guilty and angry at myself and my friends for just going along with it. But I couldn't talk because I was a part of it. I needed to find him and try to make up for the past 10 years of everything I had done to him. Izuku's point of view. I went through the back door. The Yagis always left it unlocked. I walked through the house and felt nothing for them, no hate, no love, no remorse, nothing. I realized that I was just nothing to them. I went to my room and pulled up the floorboard, revealing my hidden stash of cash, clothes, and notebooks. I'm going to need all of this to survive for the time being. I still work at the comic book store, so it should be easy to keep my life afloat for a while until I get into UA. I reached in and pulled out all the items, deciding to leave a note on the counter with something inside. I needed to leave, to get away from my old life, to discover my new powers and how they could help me on my path to becoming a hero. I flipped off the house. To hell with you, Yagis. I tried to walk off but ended up speeding into a concrete wall, leaving a spiderweb of cracks. I hit the ground and looked up at the sky for a few seconds. I hadn't checked to see if I had super speed because I was so focused on getting out of that house, but I didn't think about that until now. Okay, I got super speed, I said weakly. I honestly should have expected that, but my foolishness clearly got the better of me, even after all my years of analyzing comic books and heroes. I got up and tried to use my speed again. It worked and I was on my way to find a new home. Izumi's POV. We reached the fence line, where there was a gate with a lock. A large sign caught my attention. Warning! This place is known for unsafe environments. Enter at your own risk. Denki remarked sarcastically, well, that's not concerning at all. Everyone shot him a glare, and he shivered under their looks. Sorry, he mumbled. We need to find a way into the forest. We can't climb it. Momo, can you pick the lock? I asked. Momo nodded and created a master key. She unlocked the gate, and it creaked open. As we entered, we heard various noises and spotted many animals. When we find Izuku, I plan to apologize and give him the biggest hug possible to make up for the past 10 years. We walked for what felt like ages until we spotted the meteor that had struck the forest. It was about the size of a car engine, and then it hit me. Izuku was in the forest when the meteor struck. What if he was in the blast zone and got hurt? This isn't good. What if Izuku was in the range of where the meteor struck? I said, my heart racing. My friends paled at the thought, and we saw something that confirmed my fears: footprints. They matched the design of the quirkless shoes my brother always wore. Oh no! He was here when it hit, I whispered. Katsumi added, what if he got hurt or worse? We called out Izuku's name, but there was no response. We spent hours searching for him, but found nothing. As night fell, I felt a sense of urgency. I couldn't give up yet. I can't just leave, he could still be here. I insisted. Momo replied, "We're not giving up, but we don't have the resources to find him right now, and it's getting harder to see, even with the flashlights I made." Katsumi suggested, "Let's come back first thing in the morning. For now, we need to go before our parents get suspicious." Reluctantly, I agreed, and we started making our way back toward the forest entrance. Halfway to my house, I saw a green and silver streak pass by us, causing us all to stumble to the ground. "What was that?" Tenya asked. Ijiro replied, "I believe the more accurate question is, who was that?" Denki speculated, "You think that was someone with a quirk? No way that thing was moving fast enough to be a person. The only one who can move that fast is All Might." "Whatever it was, it's gone now, and I highly doubt we'll see it again," I said, shaking my head. We got back up and made it to my house. The door was open, and no one was home yet. No mom, no dad, no Izuku. "He's still not back yet?" I said sadly. Momo placed a hand on my shoulder. "We're going to find him. We can't give up, and we won't." I nodded, and we made our way to the living room. Some of the others headed toward the couch while others got water from the fridge. I walked to the counter to wash my hands of the dirt and grime, only to notice a letter on the table written in Izuku's handwriting. "Guys, I just found a letter that Izuku left," I exclaimed, a mix of hope and nervousness flooding through me. Everyone gasped, "What?" Momo asked, "Who is it addressed to?" Katsumi urged, "What are you waiting for? Open it." I opened the letter to find a handwritten note and a small holographic device inside. The letter contained only a few words. "This is goodbye. Play the drive, and it will explain everything." A wave of dread washed over me as I read those words. I dropped the letter and rushed to Izuku's room. Bursting through the door, I called out his name. "Izuku!" Horror struck me at the state of his room. It was a mess, only a dirty old bed, ragged clothes, and stains everywhere. I fell to the ground, sobbing. I couldn't believe I let my brother live in such conditions. My friends followed me in, and their faces mirrored my shock. Denki gasped, "Oh no." Katsumi started tearing up. "No, no." Tenya shook his head in disbelief. "This can't be." Suddenly, we heard the front door open. It was Mom and Dad. I ran toward them, tears streaming down my face, and they looked at me with concern. "Inko, what's wrong?" my dad asked. "It's Izuku. He's gone." I cried. "Gone? What do you mean he's gone?" Dad asked, panic rising in his voice. "He left. He just put a note on the counter and disappeared." I explained. They rushed to see if what I said was true. When they saw the state of his room, shock washed over them. My mother fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "My baby, what have I done?" she cried. My father looked regretful. "I've been a terrible father. How could I let this happen in my own home?" Then Dad called everyone he knew to help find Izuku, Uncle Shota, Enji, Tuya, Nizu, President Mike, everyone who could assist. When they arrived, they were confused about why he called them. After hearing the story, they were shocked. And angry, rightfully so. Then Grandpa rushed in and confronted him. "How could you do that to a kid? Did you forget how you started out?" Grand Torino shouted angrily. After that, my dad received a stern reprimand from Grandpa, and Uncle Shota wrapped his scarf around Dad, giving him a cold look. "I should teach you a lesson right here and now. If you weren't the #1 hero, I would take you to prison myself right here." Shota pointed at us, his glowing red eyes intense. "And all of you. You bullied him because he didn't have a quirk. Did you forget I fight without one? I just erase people's quirks." Fear gripped us, but then Nizu stepped in to quell the rising tension. "Everyone stop," he commanded, and we all turned to him. Nizu took a deep breath. "Look, all this fighting isn't going to change the fact that Izuku Yagi is missing. We need to find him." Some suggested he should live with Uncle Shota or go with his grandparents. Inko protested, "You can't just take my baby boy away from me." Mitsuki shot back. "He stopped being your child when you abandoned him. And for what? He was quirkless, he couldn't control that. Mom looked down, sadness washing over her as she remembered her past decisions. Then we heard a beeping sound. We all turned to a holographic device that was signaling us. I approached it, and the screen read, "Play me." "It's an audio recording," I said, pressing the play button. The audio began. "If you are watching this, then I've most likely left. You're probably wondering where I am or why I left. I left because I didn't feel like I was part of this family. My parents were never there for me, my sister and her friends bullied me, and everything in my life has been turned upside down because of my quirkless status. To everyone who didn't do anything wrong to me, this isn't your fault. If you had known sooner about what they were doing to me, I know you would have jumped in and helped me. I'm grateful that at least some people cared about me. And don't worry, I've been saving money for the past few years, so I'll be able to live on my own. P.S. I know about your secret, Toshinori and Inko. Maybe next time, don't reveal your secret to the public." As the recording ended, tears filled everyone's eyes. I sobbed, wishing I had been a better sister, that he could be here with us now. "I never should have bullied him," I cried. "I should have been there to protect him instead. I couldn't forgive myself for what I had done. Now, I had to live with the burden of my actions. I didn't know if I could face myself in the mirror again after what I had done to you." Brother. Izuku's POV. 3 hours earlier, I was in the apartment I had just bought for myself. It was perfect, with its own kitchen, laundry area, an oven, and everything I needed to live. I plopped down on the couch, taking in my new home. I need to start training as soon as possible, but first. I pulled out a notebook and a stack of comics. Research. From what I could tell, the meteor had given me new abilities, but I didn't know what they were or how many I had. The only way to find out was to test all the abilities I could think of. So far, I believed I had super strength, speed, enhanced senses, flight, and some kind of white energy I could use to fight. I thought about all the heroes in comics who gained abilities through outside forces. They all had one thing in common. They activated their powers by accident and learned to control them over time. I can't take any ideas from quirks, though, they would be too different from anything else in this world. First, I need to test all my abilities and see what I have. I got up, put on some gym gear I had bought that day, and made my way to the nearby forest. I looked around to see if anyone was nearby. It seemed clear. I tested my strength against a tree. I punched it and instead of exploding like last time, it flew back. This confused me. Why didn't it explode like last time? There wasn't any light coming from my hand. I started to mumble about why this was happening, then realized that the power I used must have been something else entirely, combined with my strength. I tried to focus on that energy again, but I couldn't. It must be based on emotions or thoughts, I concluded. I need to think about how I felt when I used it. I was angry and full of hatred toward those who wronged me. I closed my eyes and got into a lotus position, trying for about 20 minutes, but I made no progress. Frustrated, I began pacing, wondering why I couldn't do this. I finally had the power I had wanted for years, yet I could barely use it. Why can't I figure this out? I grunted in anger, not realizing that a golden light was beginning to emit from my eyes, and a cosmic energy enveloped my body. My whole life has been hell. I've been mistreated just because I was born without a quirk. Something I had no control over. Thunderclouds gathered in the sky, the wind picked up, static filled the air, and ice began to form on the ground as heat radiated from my body. I'm so mad that they would treat me like that just because I didn't have powers like they all did. I exclaimed, looking around in shock at what was happening. As I realized my power was manifesting, excitement surged within me, but then it began to fade. I understood what I needed to do. I closed my eyes again and focused on all the pain I felt from everyone who had wronged me. I was angry at them for what they did, but I couldn't let that anger control me. I was saddened that they would abandon me, but I couldn't let that consume me. Everything that happens in my life now is my choice, no one else's. As soon as I said that, a gentle breeze surrounded me, bringing a wave of warmth to my chest. The chill faded, the storm clouds dispersed, and I felt an overwhelming sense of power. I was in control of my future, and no one could dictate my dreams of becoming a hero. Izuku laughed happily. I can do it. I can become a hero. Pay focus. Let's see what I can do. It was easy to concentrate and summon the white energy again, which gathered in my hands. I examined them, moving them around to see if the energy would dissipate. It didn't. I tried punching a tree, and it shattered like before. The force of the impact sent nearby trees swaying back and forth. Izuku triumphantly raised his fist in the air. Yes. I did it, I really did. He accidentally began to lift off the ground a little. Oh right, he said, floating back down. This is so cool. Okay, calm down. Let's test out my super speed. He got into a running position and took off, leaving a green and silver streak behind him. Whoa, he exclaimed as everything around him seemed to move in slow motion. He zipped past a group of people who were walking, barely noticing them. He ran until he reached Takoba Municipal Beach, suddenly realizing something he hadn't thought about in his excitement. He stopped and noticed smoke rising from his shoes. Ah, he shouted, running around in a panic until he splashed his feet in the water. I completely forgot that I don't have friction-proof shoes like the Flash. He chuckled nervously. I'm definitely going to need gear that helps with my powers. Now I have to figure out a way home. I can't run again or I'll end up damaging my shoes. So, he decided to take the bus home to avoid burning out the soles of his shoes. His life was becoming more interesting by the day. Chapter End. No one's POV. In the desert, a green and silver blur races faster than the speed of sound before slowing down to a complete stop. A young man with white hair, dressed in gym shorts and a white shirt, stands barefoot, panting slightly with a smile on his face. He squats down and leaps into the sky, attempting to fly, but only reaches about 50 feet before he falls back to the ground. Frustrated, he gets up and closes his eyes, kneeling with a fist on the ground. Dust particles swirl around him as he channels all his strength into his legs and blasts off into the sky again. On the other side of the world, a green-haired girl is cleaning a beach, wearing a green tracksuit with her hair tied back in a ponytail. She trains her body to build muscle and endurance, while a skinny blonde man watches from the side. After putting down a pile of garbage, she surveys the beach, still littered but showing signs of progress. It has been weeks since her brother left, and she feels like the worst person in the world. Her father has decided to pass on the power of one for all to her, despite her belief that her brother deserves it more. However, he convinces her to accept it, urging her to become a hero for her brother and to redeem herself. Izuku's POV. For weeks, I've been trying to fly again, but it's been challenging. I can't just fly around Japan without attracting attention, so I've come to the desert. Here, no one can see me use my powers, and I can train without worrying about anyone getting hurt. Ever since I gained my powers, I haven't been able to fly again. The first time was an accident, and I've been trying to recreate that moment without success. I tuck my notebook into my pocket, recalling how most characters in comics learn to fly through intensive training. I need to do the same until it becomes second nature. Let's try flying again, I say to myself, squatting down into a jumping stance. I leap into the sky, reaching about 50 feet, and see the sun shining brightly. I extend my arms, thinking I'm flying, but suddenly I start to fall. Ah! I scream, flailing my arms as the ground rushes up to meet me. I brace for impact, closing my eyes and waiting for the pain. After a few seconds, I feel nothing. I open my eyes to find myself floating a few inches off the ground. I pull myself upright, still floating, and yell in excitement. Yahoo! I finally did it. I can fly. I blast off into the air, soaring like I did the first time, but now I can do it on command. This is amazing. I spin faster and rise higher into the sky, pausing to take in the morning view. I did it. Finally. I sigh, pulling out my notebook to write about the experience, how difficult it was at first, but now I'm starting to get the hang of it. I descend and land with a bit of trouble, realizing I need to work on my landing and develop my own flight style. Heroes in my comics have unique ways of flying and landing, and I need to find mine. I need to research everything I can about heroes who fly. Once I gather enough information, I can create a style that works for me, I note in my notebook. Okay, let's see what else I can do. I already know I have super speed, strength, enhanced senses, flight, enhanced durability, and my prism punches. I pause, recalling a few weeks ago when I first discovered my white energy. Ice crystals formed, storm clouds gathered above me, and I felt a warm sensation in my body. Maybe, just maybe, I stand up and focus on that feeling again. I sense the same phenomena as before, but this time I remain calm and in control. I decide to focus on the heat element. As I concentrate, the wind stills, the static in the air fades, and the ice stops forming, leaving only the heat. I feel warmth ignite in my right hand and open my eyes to see flames dancing there. It's beautiful. Let's see if I can project it, I say, sending the fire toward the ground, where it begins to burn. Oh no. Bad idea. I need to put this out. I panic, quickly focusing on switching from heat to cold. I hope this works. I aim my hand at the fire, and an ice blast shoots out, extinguishing the flames. Thank goodness. I don't know what I was thinking, starting a fire in the desert. I check the time back in Japan and decide to pack up and head home. I run at Mach 1, reaching my front door with my shoes in one hand. I really need to get new shoes so I don't have to go barefoot every time I want to use my speed. Once inside my apartment, I change clothes, take a shower, eat dinner while writing my analysis on my powers, and then head to bed for the night. The next day, I wake up, make breakfast for myself, and prepare for work. I leave my apartment and walk to my job at the comic shop. You might think a comic shop wouldn't be popular in today's world, especially with real heroes around, but you couldn't be more mistaken. As I walked, I noticed a group of people gathering around someone. Curiosity got the better of me, and I moved closer to see what was happening. What I heard next was quite concerning. Bully 1, are you ready to give up and hand over your money, or do we need to teach you a lesson? I won't back down to people like you. Bully 2, shame. You could have avoided this. Bully 3, get ready, you're about to regret this. Laughs maniacally. I could see the fear in the guy's eyes, and I knew I had to step in. Izuku, hey, stop. They turned to face me, but my hoodie obscured my face. I rushed toward one of the bullies and punched him in the gut, sending him crashing into the wall, unconscious. Bully 1, what the heck? Bully 2, how strong is this guy? He activated his quirk, revealing scales on his body, while the other pulled out a knife. I darted past the one with the knife and targeted the one with scales. I landed a solid punch, pushing him back a few feet, then unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks. Finally, I knocked him out with a decisive blow to the jaw. Bully 1, who are you? I didn't respond. Instead, I knocked him out as well. I turned to the guy with purple hair and noticeable eye bags, who looked shocked by how easily I had taken down the bullies. Who are you? Izuku, I'm someone who just helped you out because you looked like you needed it. Can you tell me why they were trying to attack you? He scoffed but then answered. They attacked me because of my quirk. It's called brainwashing. When I ask someone a question and they answer, I can tell them what to do. They all called me a villain in the making. I could relate to him. I had been abandoned for not having a quirk, and he was labeled a villain because of his. In a way, we were both misunderstood. Izuku, I never got your name. What is it? It's Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku, well, Shinso, it's nice to meet you. Let's get out of here. Those guys are starting to wake up, and I don't want to be around when that happens. We both ran toward my workplace, and once inside, I locked the door behind us. We exchanged glances and burst into laughter. Izuku, okay, even I know that running like that was a bit much. But Hitoshi, yeah, the way we ran, I think we could give speed heroes a run for their money. But once we calmed down, Hitoshi took in his surroundings. Hitoshi, we're in a comic book store? Izuku, yep. I work here during the summer, and believe it or not, this place gets pretty busy. Look, there's even a line forming outside. We glanced outside to see a crowd of kids with their parents and teens. I opened the door, and as people came in, I flipped the sign from closed to open. I got behind the desk and put on my name tag. Hitoshi, you work here? Izuku, yep, I've been here since I was 12. Hitoshi, I get the excitement, but why do people come here when there are real heroes out there? Izuku, mostly because parents want to keep their kids safe while watching heroes. Hitoshi thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Hitoshi, yeah, I get that. Watching heroes fight is cool, but I wouldn't want to put lives at risk. Izuku, exactly, and these are the first superheroes of our time. We chatted about heroes and their powers until Hitoshi asked me a question I wasn't prepared for. Hitoshi, oh, I forgot to ask, what's your quirk? It must be pretty strong. You took those guys out quickly. I hesitated, unsure of how to answer. Looking at him, I sensed I could trust him with my secret, so I decided to share the truth. Izuku, look, you seem trustworthy, so can you promise me you won't tell anyone about my secret? I said seriously. Hitoshi, he looked confused for a moment before responding. Sure, but it can't be that wild, right? It's just your quirk you're talking about. I took a deep breath, then began to explain. Izuku, I got my powers from something not of this world. You know that meteor that hit the forest a few weeks ago? Hitoshi, yeah, everyone was talking about how crazy it was when it landed. What does that have to do with this? Izuku sighs, I was quirkless before, but I was there when the meteor struck. It was glowing with power, and I felt like it was calling to me. When I placed my hand on it, I felt an overwhelming sensation of strength. When I woke up, I had powers beyond imagination. I watched his reaction, and his mouth dropped open in disbelief. Hitoshi, dude, that's a lot to take in. I mean, you were quirkless 1 minute, and the next, you wake up with powers beyond this world. It sounds like something out of a comic or a movie, but considering we live in a world of quirks, it's not impossible. I sighed in relief that he believed me. It felt good to connect with someone who understood, and I didn't want to lose a potential friend over my secret. Hitoshi, so, what kind of powers do you have? Izuku, from what I can tell, I have super strength, speed, enhanced senses, flight, enhanced durability, this white energy I can use to attack, and I can control fire, ice, lightning, and wind. But there's still more I need to figure out. I said while rubbing my head. Hitoshi, wow, you could really do a lot with powers like that. You might even be able to take on All Might with all that. Chuckles. I frowned at the thought of that man. He wasn't the hero I once believed him to be. I used to admire him, but now, whenever I hear his name or think of him, I feel a wave of nausea wash over me. Izuku asked, what about you? Do you want to be a hero? Your quirk could be really useful. Hitoshi looked at him in disbelief, surprised that Izuku would think so highly of him. You really think so? With a quirk like mine? Have you ever considered using your quirk to influence people? Izuku suggested. Hitoshi shook his head. No, not at all. Then your quirk isn't evil, and neither are you. Any quirk can be misused, but you haven't done anything wrong. Honestly, your quirk could be perfect for hero work. Just imagine if you could ask someone a question and ensure that no one would get hurt in the process. Hitoshi paused, contemplating this new perspective. I never thought of it that way. Thanks. Wait, I never got your name. Oh, my bad. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Little did I know, he would become one of my closest friends in life. Izuku's POV. I've been training with Hitoshi for a few months, and while he struggled with fighting at first, he's starting to improve. Meanwhile, I've discovered a new ability. I found out about it during a training session with Shinso. The blue energy icon HRNS is similar to Yaoyorozu's creation quirk, but I don't need to know the molecular structure of the item I want. I can simply touch another material, and it transforms into what I desire, even the air around me. You might be wondering how I figured this out. Well, I accidentally turned the ground into wood when I placed my hands on it. Okay, this is starting to get ridiculous. How many powers do I have? I exclaimed. I have no idea, Hitoshi replied with a smirk. But at this rate, I'm just going to have to catch up. Unless you don't know how to use them. I smirked back at his challenge. Well then, I guess I'll just have to get the hang of my new power. Later, we decided to take the rest of the day off and head to the mall. I put on my mask to conceal my identity, Even though my hair and eyes are different, my freckles are a dead giveaway. As we made our way to the mall, we planned to look for some practice weapons for our training. Suddenly, we noticed a girl being cornered by a group of guys. I saw that there were no cameras around, and I knew we had to help her. Hitoshi followed my lead. Why does this feel so familiar, like when I saved you from those bullies? I whispered to him. He shrugged as we approached, determined to intervene before anything bad happened to her. As we got closer, I noticed she had orange hair tied in a ponytail and striking teal eyes. I shook my head, trying to focus. Not now. Save the girl first. Hey! I called out. What's going on here? Hitoshi added. Get out of here. One of the teens began, but his expression went blank. Punch yourself in the face. Hard, Hitoshi commanded. The teen complied, knocking himself out. I rushed over and blasted the guy with fire using my water ability. He was taken aback, but before he could react, I kneed him in the face, knocking him out. I turned to see Hitoshi engaged in hand-to-hand combat with another guy, while the last one, enraged, activated his quirk to grow larger. You're both going to pay for that, you little brats, he shouted, charging at me. I ducked under him, but he nicked my cheek, causing a small cut. I retaliated with a swift kick, and he fell to his knees, gasping for air. As he shrank back to his original size, I delivered a final blow to his head, knocking him out. I glanced at Hitoshi, who had finished with the last guy. Miss, are you okay? You're not hurt, are you? I asked the girl. She looked at me, her cheeks turning red. Why yeah, I think I'm all right. Just a little shaken up. What about you two? Are you guys all right? I'm good, Hitoshi replied. I'm okay, but I just got nicked on the cheek, I said, feeling the blood on my hand. Oh no. I'm so sorry. Here, let me help, she said, pulling out a mini first aid kit from her purse and starting to clean up the blood before I could protest. After she finished cleaning my face, she applied a bandage to my cheek. She cupped my face gently, and I smiled softly, feeling a blush creep onto my cheeks. Thanks for patching me up, I said, my voice slightly shy. It's okay, and besides, you wouldn't have needed it if I hadn't been in trouble, she replied, suddenly realizing her closeness and pulling her hand back, blushing. Hitoshi cleared his throat, trying to regain everyone's attention. Not that I'm not happy to see this happening in front of me, he said sarcastically, but what are we going to do about these guys? We looked at the knocked-out teens and decided to do the right thing by reporting them to the mall security. After they were arrested, we were about to go our separate ways when she stopped me, grabbing my hand. Wait, hang on. I never got to thank you two for saving me, and I never got your names, she said. Oh well, I'm Izuku Midoriya, and this is Hitoshi Shinso. You don't have to do anything for us, I started, but she cut me off. Please, if it weren't for you two, I don't know what would have happened to me, she insisted. I looked at Hitoshi, who shrugged and seemed okay with it. I sighed and nodded. Her face brightened, and she pulled us toward a restaurant. Order anything you want, it's on me, she said. We placed our orders and chatted about heroes, news, and other topics. Then she introduced herself. My name is Itsuka Kendo. That's a pretty name for a pretty girl, I blurted out, immediately feeling embarrassed. She blushed deeply, and I buried my face in my hands, looking away. After we both recovered from our embarrassment, the conversation shifted to quirks. Itsuka shared that hers was called Big Fists, allowing her to enlarge her fists. Hitoshi then told her about his quirk, and when the topic turned to mine, I felt a wave of nervousness. Well, what's yours? It has to be some kind of water quirk since you shot water at that guy, Itsuka said. I took a deep breath, knowing I could trust her. Look, I'll tell you about it, but you need to promise you won't tell anyone, okay? She looked confused for a moment but then nodded. I then went to tell her about what happened to me, how I got my powers, how I'm still figuring them out, and how many I've discovered. She took a moment to process everything I said, but I hadn't shared my past with anyone yet. Itsuka, so let me get this straight. You ran into a forest to escape some bullies, got lost, were there when the meteor hit the ground, felt like it was calling to you, and when you touched the rock, all that energy went into you, giving you those abilities. Did I miss anything? Izuku, Yeah, you pretty much got it all. Itsuka, well, that's a lot to take in. Hitoshi, yeah, I almost didn't believe it at first, but considering we have people with quirks, it's more plausible than you'd think. Itsuka, true, but it's still a little hard to believe. Izuku, I get it, it's something you'd find in a comic book. We decided to leave and head back to our homes, planning to meet up the next morning to train. Itsuka wanted to join us since we all aimed to get into UA High. As Izuku and Hitoshi made their way toward the beach, they spotted Itsuka there. She was wearing a black tank top, gray shorts, and running shoes. Izuku noticed the shorts were quite short, accentuating her curves, and he quickly shook his head to dispel his thoughts. Izuku, hey Itsuka. How's it going? Itsuka, hey, Izuku. I'm good, just waiting for you. You guys. Laughs nervously. We managed to get over our initial awkwardness and started training. I practiced my matter manipulation abilities, creating anything I could think of: weapons, poles, and more. I ended up making a bunch of random objects but could easily turn everything back into sand. Then we decided to train with wooden weapons. First up was me against Itsuka, and since I didn't know her fighting style, I knew this would be challenging. Izuku, remember, no using our quirks, just our skills and combat experience. Itsuka, don't worry, I've got this. We got into our stances, and Hitoshi acted as the referee. Hitoshi, ready? Begin. In the blink of an eye, we were exchanging attacks and blocking each other. I spotted an opening and took it, landing a hit on her side. She fell to the ground, and I rushed toward her, holding the wooden katana to her neck. Izuku, yield. Itsuka, sighs in defeat. I yield. I helped her up, and when she stood, she bumped into my chest. She blushed and looked. We continued fighting throughout the day, taking breaks from time to time. Later, we all headed home. Hitoshi went his own way, but since Itsuka and I lived in the same direction, I decided to walk her home. We both blushed at the thought of walking together, but it wasn't serious. Right? Itsuka, today was great, but I need to work harder if I want to get into UA. The exams are in 8 months, and I have to push myself more than ever. Izuku, I understand, but you have a great quirk, and it can be very versatile when used correctly. So instead of saying if I want to get in, say, when I get into UA, it'll help boost your confidence and fill your mind with positivity. Go ahead and try it. Itsuka, I'm going to work harder for when I get into UA High. Izuku, keep saying that to yourself, and you'll be great. Smiles at her. She smiled back, a slight blush on her cheeks, and soon we arrived at her house. This was where we were supposed to part ways for the night, but she did something unexpected. She grabbed my hand and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. I was taken aback by her gesture. Itsuka, that's for saving me and training with me. Blushes softly. Then she walked into her house. I stood frozen for a moment, blushing furiously. When I finally snapped out of it, I walked home with a smile and a warm feeling in my chest. Izuku, I think I like her. I mean really like her. Blushing softly. Izumi's POV. I've managed to clear up half of the beach in the past few months, but judging by my timing, I'll probably finish cleaning the rest on the last day of training. I still haven't found my brother, but I'm not losing hope. I just hope my friends and I see him at the UA exam. Today is my day off, so I decided to hang out with my friends and talk about anything. Eventually, we started discussing my brother and where we could search next. Momo, Zuzu has to be somewhere in Japan, we have to keep looking. Tsuyu, we've been searching for the past 5 months and haven't seen any signs of him. Maybe he left the country. I thought about it for a moment and then shook my head. Izumi, I don't think so. If he did, he wouldn't be able to come to UA and become a hero. They all considered this and nodded in agreement. Izumi, besides, we might see him at the entrance exams. That's our best chance to find him. They all agreed, and we decided to change the topic since we knew what we had done was wrong, and we didn't want to dwell on it. It was all our fault this was happening. Izuku's POV. I decided to finally reach out to the side of my family who treated me well. I sent them a letter in the mail, letting them know when I would meet them and mentioning that I had a different appearance so they wouldn't recognize me. It was 4 o'clock, and the meeting was in 30 minutes. I told my friends I wouldn't be attending training today because I needed to handle some family matters, which wasn't entirely untrue. I made my way to the school quickly, arriving in just a few seconds. I decided to wait until the last minute to enter, planning a dramatic entrance for my Uncle Nizu. I flew over the border without triggering any alarms and positioned myself by my uncle's office window, waiting for everyone to gather inside. Izuku, and now the waiting game. I chuckled, trying to imitate a villain's laugh, but it just didn't feel right. With my enhanced sight, I confirmed that everyone was in the room, and it was time to make my entrance. This would be great. Izuku's aunts and uncles at UA were gathered in the middle of the room, waiting for me to appear on the camera. After a while, I still hadn't shown up. Eraserhead, the problem child still isn't here. Midnight, maybe he's running late? President Mike, do you think he got in trouble? Endeavor, I doubt it. In his letter, he mentioned keeping a low profile and that he had a new applicant, so I highly doubt he's in trouble. Blue Blaze, Tuya, I agree with Endeavor, he's probably just caught up in traffic. Blizzard, Ray, yeah, all we have to do is wait for him, huh? Suddenly, they all heard knocking from somewhere. Turning around, they saw a blue-hooded man floating in the air. The heroes immediately got into fighting stances, ready for a confrontation with someone who had somehow bypassed UA's defenses. Everyone, who are you? Relax, I'm not here for trouble, I just want to talk. Eraserhead, I can't erase his quirk. Can I come in, or do I have to wait out here? It looks like it's going to start raining. Reluctantly, they agreed to let the man into the school to explain how and why he was there. Izuku's POV. Their reactions were priceless. They didn't see me coming. I made my way toward Nizu's office, with Uncle Aizawa and Aunt Emmy in front of me. As we entered Uncle Nizu's office, I could sense that everyone was a bit on edge. Nizu, so, sir, would you care to explain why you are here and how you got in? Izuku, I flew in above your radar, and as for why I'm here. I pulled down my hood, revealing myself. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Everyone's jaws dropped at the sight of me. A moment later, they snapped out of it and looked at Tsukachi for confirmation. He nodded, and then all the ladies burst into tears, hugging me tightly. Izuku, I missed all of you too, but I'm starting to lose air. I struggled to breathe. They let go, still sniffling, and then I felt 2 canes tap my knees, causing me to fall to the ground. I looked up to see my grandparents standing over me. Recovery girl, do you have any idea how worried we were about you? You nearly gave me a heart attack when you disappeared. Gran Torino, you're very reckless, just leaving without a trace. He said seriously. I apologized profusely, not wanting to feel their anger. They hugged me again, saying they missed me. Then all my uncles joined in for a bone-crushing hug. Nizu then asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Nizu, we're all happy to see you again, Izuku, but we must ask how you flew in and why you look so different. Izuku, well, that's a long story, Uncle Nizu, and it's going to take a while to explain everything. Tuya, we've got time, dude, but you better start because the longer you wait, the more our grandparents will want to give you a talking to. I explained everything that had happened. Izumi's squad chasing me, running into the forest, almost getting hit by a meteor, feeling like the meteor was calling to me, and finally discovering that I had somehow gained powers. At first, they were skeptical, but when they looked to Naomasa for confirmation, he nodded, affirming my story. Then my grandparents came over and tapped me on the head again. Izuku, oh, what was that for? Gran Torino, that's for thinking it was a good idea to touch a space rock. He said sternly. Recovery girl, do you have any idea how dangerous that could have been? If your body hadn't accepted the power from the asteroid, you could have seriously harmed yourself. She said seriously and angrily. Izuku, okay, I get it. No more touching weird rocks from outer space. Recovery girl, regardless of your reckless decision, I need to check your body to see if anything is wrong after touching that thing. Nizu, you may do that later, recovery girl, but for now, we need to know all about your new powers and abilities. Izuku, So far, I've discovered I have super strength, speed, enhanced senses, invincibility, flight, control over fire and heat, water and ice, lightning, wind, and my white energy can be used as an attack with my fist. My blue energy seems to be some kind of matter manipulation, but I still haven't figured out the rest yet. I rubbed the back of my head sheepishly. They were all shocked by the extent of my powers, especially since I hadn't fully explored them yet. Later, they decided to scan my body to see how it had changed, and the results were a bit surprising. Recovery girl, I tried to take some scans, but all I got was this. She showed a scan of my body that simply read, "Insufficient data, please try again." Izuku, there's nothing on it. Recovery girl, exactly, and that's the problem. I can't get any readings from your body, and I can't take any DNA samples because of how resilient you are. Based on what you told us, you were able to crash land onto solid concrete without so much as a scratch. Nizu, we don't have the right technology here to see what's happening inside. While I'll ask Power Loader to assist with this, it could take a while before he completes it. Izuku, well, that's just unbelievable. RG, we still need to conduct some more tests, but from what I can tell, you're healthy. They ran the standard tests on my body to see if anything had changed. From what they could tell, my body still had motor responses and functioned like a normal human, which didn't really help in determining how much had changed. I prepared to leave when Uncle Nizu handed me a recommendation slip, but I declined it. I wanted to earn my place on my own, using my powers. It's not just about your quirk, it's about what you can achieve and how much you can do independently. Chapter End. Izuku's POV. I'm running across the salt lands at incredible speed, feeling more alive than ever. Although I'm moving fast, I sense that I could push myself even further. The only limitation of my powers is the need for stamina, but thanks to my regeneration, I only have to wait a minute or so before I can use my abilities again. I also need to be barefoot for speed training. I've noticed that my powers seem to surge at night under the stars or on sunny days. Eventually, I come to a stop in front of my belongings and jot down my discoveries and lingering questions in my notebook. I've learned about a new energy, orange energy, which can serve as a strong defense against enemies. I discovered this while practicing with Itsuka. When she tried to strike me, the energy manifested in front of me. It seems that my new abilities activate when I need them or when my emotions run high. This could be problematic in hero work. If I get too angry, I might accidentally cause destruction. After finishing my notes, I pack up and head home. Tomorrow is the UA entrance exam, and I feel ready. With my current abilities, I'm confident I can make my way into the school of my dreams. I fly back to my apartment and land in front of my door. I've finally developed my own flying style for hero work. Once inside, I take a shower, eat dinner, and prepare for bed. Tomorrow marks the beginning of my journey to become the hero I've always wanted to be. Izumi's POV. I spent all night cleaning up the beach, and I finally finished. Standing atop a pile of garbage, I feel a surge of triumph and determination. I let out a victorious shout just as my dad approaches. All Might's skinny form, hey. Wow, Izumi. You even cleaned up outside the area I told you to. All Might, seriously, there's not a speck of trash left on this beach, and you did it with only a few minutes to spare. You exceeded my expectations. All Might, buff form, incredible. Feeling exhausted, I stumble, but Dad catches me before I fall. All Might, excellent work, Izumi. Izumi, tired, I finished everything. Dad, do you think I'm ready now? All Might, absolutely. I'm impressed. I knew you had it in you, but this is beyond what I expected. All Might, look how far you've come. There's still a long road ahead before you can fully use my power, but it's starting to look like you can handle it. Izumi, Dad, do I deserve this? After everything I've done to Izuku, I'm not sure I deserve this power. All Might, thoughts, I understand why she feels this way. We still haven't found him, and there's no trace of him anywhere. Hope is starting to fade. All Might, you've pushed yourself to achieve this because you wanted to become better. Now, for your reward, Izumi Yagi. Izumi, yes, sir. All Might, plucks a hair from his head, Your grandmother once told me there's a clear difference between being lucky and being deserving. One is accidental, and the other is a reward. Never confuse the two. Take that to heart, Izumi. This gift is yours because of your own valiant efforts. Then my father held the hair in front of me and said something that made my stomach turn. All Might, eat this. Izumi, huh? All Might, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly, I forgot to mention that to inherit my power, you need to swallow some of my DNA. That's how it works. Izumi, this isn't how I imagined it. You could have told me beforehand. Grossed up. All Might, come on, there's no time. You'll be late for the exam. Eat. I yelped and swallowed the hair, nearly gagging. All Might, good. You swallowed it, right? Izumi, yeah, but I don't feel any different. All Might, laughs, of course not. Your body has to process it first. It should kick in after 2 or 3 hours. Izumi, my stomach's in knots, and I still need to shower and eat something before the exam. All Might, serious tone, you've molded your body into a proper vessel, but you did it in a hurry, so be careful. You haven't tested the power yet. The physical backlash of one for all can be intense. I looked at him, confused and a little worried. Physical backlash? Does that mean I'll just be really tired, or will I risk injuring myself? Before I could ask, he interrupted my thoughts. All Might, there's no time for details, but remember, you need to prepare yourself before using this quirk. So, I want you to clench your fists and yell from the depths of your heart, smash. I nodded, and we made our way back home. I changed into my school uniform, ate breakfast, and left to meet up with my friends as we headed to the exam. Izuku's POV. I was walking with my best friends, Hitoshi and Itsuka. I had finished online schooling a few weeks ago and had all the necessary paperwork for the exam. Now it was just time to take the exam and get in. I wore my casual clothes since I didn't have a uniform, while my friends were dressed in theirs. Izuku, you guys ready? Itsuka, yeah, I think so. Hitoshi, yeah, I'm a little nervous. Izuku, don't worry. You've been practicing for almost a year now, and I know you can both get in. They nodded, determination shining in their eyes. We were all going to pass, and we were allowed to bring weapons or support items. Hitoshi chose to wield a one-handed katana, while Itsuka opted for a short sword that complemented her eyes. I shook off my distracting thoughts. It was becoming increasingly difficult to stay calm around her. I could sense that she liked me and I liked her too, but I needed to be certain. I didn't want to risk losing someone I cared about. Ultimately, I decided on dual katanas, designed for quick and agile attacks, perfectly suited to my fighting style. As I looked up at the UA gates, they appeared much larger and more significant in person. Well, looks like we're here, Hitoshi remarked. We're really doing this, huh? Itsuka replied, a hint of nervousness in her voice. I placed my hand on her shoulder, and she glanced at me, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Hey, remember, a hero isn't someone who always wins. It's someone who does their best to help people's dreams come true, I encouraged her. She nodded, and as we entered, I felt a frown form on my face when I caught a glimpse of my past approaching. Just then, a robot called out to us for some trivial reason. Excuse me, but if you're not going to take this exam seriously, I suggest you leave. Others here are trying to get into this school, Tenya said, oblivious to who I was, as my half-mask concealed my freckles and my hair was now white. I signaled my friends to go on without me, assuring them I would catch up. I shot Tenya a serious look and replied, I do online school, idiot. I don't have a uniform to wear. The robot backed off, and then a red-haired student approached to apologize. I'm sorry about him, he's a rule follower. I hope this doesn't start us off on the wrong foot. I'm Ijiro Kirishima, nice to meet you. He extended his hand for a handshake. I regarded him coolly, feeling uncomfortable, and he lowered his hand. I then walked off to meet my friends at the front entrance. After registering, we took the written exam. I completed mine in under 10 minutes due to my intelligence and waited for my friends. To pass the time, I played some video games on my phone. An hour later, I looked up to see my friends emerging from their testing halls. "Hey guys, how was it?" I asked. "It was pretty easy thanks to all our study sessions," Hitoshi replied. Itsuka nodded and added, "Let me guess, you finished in less than 5 minutes." I smirked. "Nope, I finished in under 3 minutes." They rolled their eyes as we made our way to the room where Uncle Mike explained the next steps. The robot called out, and Mike explained that the final robot was just an obstacle specializing in close quarters, and it was best to avoid it. I wished my friends good luck before changing into my gym clothes. A white shirt, black track pants, and running shoes, with my katana strapped to my back in an X formation across my chest. I boarded the bus and decided to take a short nap before the exam, tuning out the chatter of others discussing their expected performances. When the bus came to a stop, I mentally cursed myself as I spotted my past: the robot, the gravity user, and the green-haired student. I tried to ignore them, but luck was on my side today. I sensed the robot approaching. Just then, the gates opened, and in a flash, I dashed past them, swiftly taking down robots. The other examinees mocked me for starting before the signal. "Ha, what an idiot. He didn't even wait for the signal," one random examiner laughed. "What are you guys waiting for? There are no countdowns in a real battle. Go follow that guy. He's already got enough points to pass," President Mike urged. Everyone was stunned. "Huh? How? It's only been 30 seconds. They all raced off to catch up with me, only to find a trail of defeated robots behind me, leaving them wondering how I had accomplished so much so quickly. In the observation room, the UA staff sat in a dimly lit space, watching the monitors. They saw a purple-haired teen skillfully slicing through robots, dodging their attacks with ease. Another student with enlarged fists was also taking down robots, countering their moves while wielding a short sword. "We have a lot of contestants this year," Midnight noted. "Yes, and many of them show great potential," President Mike agreed. Then, a green and silver blur zipped past a camera, leaving destruction in its wake. Some staff members recognized him and felt proud of how far he had come with his own abilities. They also noticed a green-haired girl in the exam, prompting frowns and glares from some staff members. Her recommendation had been removed, along with those of Todoroki and Yaoyorozu. Inko, a slender blonde woman, watched her daughter with pride. "Look at her go," she said, beaming. All Might, in his slimmer form, replied, "I know, I'm so proud. She's the one who will be the next symbol of peace." Nizu, the principal, added, "Let's see how the examiners handle this obstacle." He pressed a large red button, causing the exam site to rumble, and he chuckled with excitement. Back in my perspective, it had been a few minutes, and I had taken down numerous robots. I sliced through another one effortlessly with my katanas, spinning them to clear the oil before sheathing them. I'm pretty sure I've got enough points to pass, but the more, the merrier. Plus, I get to let loose a little here, I thought to myself. Just then, I felt the ground begin to shake and looked up to see a massive robot approaching, while others scrambled to escape. "Well, that's not concerning at all," I deadpanned. "Should avoid at all costs. But it's practically impossible when that thing is as big as a building." I started to run away, but then I saw someone trapped under some fallen rocks. As I got closer, I realized it was the gravity user stuck beneath the debris. I didn't want to save her, but everyone else was fleeing, and I couldn't let my grudge against her stop me from being a hero. I turned and sprinted toward the robot, drawing my katanas from their sheaths. I crouched down and launched myself into the sky. I had been practicing a new move, but I hadn't used it in combat yet. I activated my white energy and fire simultaneously. The energy swirled around the katanas, roaring with power. I lifted them above my head, aimed for the robot's head, and slashed down with a shout. "Izuku, improvised special move, Comet Whip." I struck the robot, making a clean slice from the top of its head down to its base, resulting in a massive explosion as I fell back to the ground. The katanas shattered in my hands, unable to withstand that level of power. I would need to figure out how to create stronger ones or ask the support department for help. I floated back down and landed safely, leaving everyone in awe at my ability to destroy that robot in one blow. "Did you see what that guy just did?" someone exclaimed. "Talk about a strong quirk," another added. Yeah, but wait, I thought his quirk gave him speed, not flying, someone else said. I saw his swords catch on fire. What could his quirk be? Another wondered. I walked over to the gravity user and pulled the rubble off her legs, freeing her. Once the exam ended, I walked away without saying another word and went to meet up with my friends. Observation room. Everyone in the room had their jaws dropped in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. They were all in shock until Eraserhead snapped them out of it. Eraserhead, that was incredible, stupid but incredible. Vlad King, do you want to take this one, Eraser, or should I? Eraserhead, nope, all you. Besides, I need to deal with the problem class. I don't want to add him into the mix. Sighs in frustration. Vlad King nodded in agreement. Across the room, All Might and Magnetic were staring at the screen in shock, but All Might's surprise stemmed from a different realization. He recognized someone with multiple quirks, and only one person came to mind who could achieve that. All Might, no, it can't be. I thought he was dead. He couldn't have found a successor. Right. A bead of sweat trickled down his forehead at the thought. Nizu glanced at him, feeling a mix of annoyance and anger, but he couldn't blame All Might. If he didn't know the full story, he would think the same. But he was determined to protect his nephew, no matter what challenges lay ahead. 2 weeks later, I was walking home with my friends when Hitoshi decided to go the rest of the way alone. That left just me and Izuku together. Izuku, thoughts, now might be the best time for me to confess my feelings. But how? No, it's fine, you're okay, Izuku. She's been giving me signs that she may feel the same way. I just have to be confident in myself. Alright, here goes. Itsuka? I said, stopping in my tracks to look at her. Yeah, she replied. I've been waiting to tell you something for a while now, but I wasn't sure if you felt the same way. I like you, Itsuka. A lot. I hid my face behind my hands, blushing furiously. Itsuka, shocked and blushing. Thoughts, oh my god. He likes me like I like him. This is amazing. Okay, calm down, I just need to tell him that I feel the same way. It's fine if you don't feel the same way, I started, but she cut me off. I feel the same way. I just needed to know if you felt the same. Her blush deepened. I blushed and smiled. So if you like me and I like you, then can we date? I don't see why not. Considering we both like each other in that way. She smiled back at me. We cupped each other's faces and shared a sweet kiss. It was wonderful, especially since it was our first kiss. Leaning our heads against each other, we smiled. I decided to walk her all the way home to make sure she was safe, and we held hands the entire way. When we reached her house, she gave me a kiss on the cheek before heading inside. Alone, I felt an overwhelming happiness. I had a girlfriend, a beautiful one at that. I was so excited that I ran home as fast as I could. Once I got there, I checked my mailbox and found a letter from UA. I dashed up to my apartment, ran into my room, and sat down at my desk. I opened the envelope, and a hologram disc fell out, starting to play. It showed my Uncle Nizu. Hello, Izuku Midoriya. I'm here to give you the results of your exam. For the written part, you earned a perfect score of 100%, and in your practical exam, you scored 135 villain points. That's usually more than enough to get into the hero course. I sighed in relief, glad I had made it in, but then he continued. However, villain points aren't all we consider. We also evaluate actions, which is why I'm here to tell you that the practical exam wasn't graded solely on combat skills. Heroes are supposed to be selfless, saving people regardless of the consequences to their own lives. After all, that is what makes a hero, and that's what my school is all about, training those who would risk their lives for the greater good. He showed a screenshot of the leaderboard with names on it and continued. That's why we have rescue points. A panel of judges observes and awards points for heroic actions beyond just fighting villains. Izuku Midoriya, you earned 80 rescue points. Adding that to your 135 villain points, you earned a total of 215 points, putting you comfortably in first place and breaking the record for the most points received. You would be in Class 1A, but I have a feeling that's not what you want, and that's why I'm placing you in Class 1B. I'm shocked by the results. I got first place and by a significant margin. Nizu, Izuku Midoriya, I welcome you to join my school and to become a hero for the future generation. The screen shuts off, and tears of joy fill my eyes. I made it. I'm on my way to becoming the hero I've always wanted to be. Then I see the hero suit clothing allowance and realize I need to submit my quirk registration form. They require my measurements and costume design. Memories of my previous designs flood my mind, all reminding me of my father. Izuku, yeah, I'm definitely not using any of those designs. I need to create my own image as a hero. I'm registered as having no quirk. I didn't think this part through. What should I do? I called my uncle Nizu for advice. He reassured me that I could update my registration without any issues. He explained that when students realize their quirks aren't what they initially thought, they are allowed to revise their forms once or twice. Since I had no quirk before, they would want me to update my information. I understood, and he offered to help me with the process. Since he and some staff members already knew about my abilities, I didn't need to provide too many details. I decided to call my quirk Adaptive Energy Manipulation. Then I designed my costume, aiming for something that matched my abilities. My first design featured a black and white skin-tight spandex suit with a mask covering my face, a cape, and my katanas on my back. Izuku, yeah, no, that just looks odd. I ripped it out of the book and tossed it aside. My second design included a gray jumpsuit that was slightly baggy, featuring a blue X on the front and black accents on the shoulders. It had a utility belt for medical supplies, black boots, fingerless gloves, a bandana on my left arm, and blue accents around the seams, with my katanas on the back. Izuku, better, but it's a bit too edgy for my taste. I ripped that one out too and tried again. I spent hours refining my design until I finally created one I liked and sent it off for production. Izuku, if all goes according to plan, I'll have my suit design ready for hero training. Izumi's POV. I got into UA, and when I first used one for all, it completely broke my arm. Dad advised me to hold back for now because I can only use 8% of one for all at the moment. I figured out that I need to use it throughout my entire body to avoid transferring the power elsewhere. My friends and I are in class 1A. I didn't see my brother anywhere, but there was a guy with white hair and a mask. I don't recognize him, but something about him feels familiar, as if I know him from somewhere. Izuku's POV. I woke up with a smile on my face. Today was the first day of school, and I couldn't wait to start. After showering, putting on my uniform, and having breakfast, I left my apartment for the first day of school. I could have run to school in seconds, but I wanted to walk with my best friend and girlfriend. I walked until I saw Hitoshi and Itsuka waiting for me at the park, both in their uniforms. Itsuka looked great in hers. Izuku, hey Itsuka. Hey Hitoshi. Itsuka, hey Izu. How's your morning going? Izuku, better now that I've seen your face. I smiled. Itsuka, she blushed slightly and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. Oh you. Hitoshi, while I'm happy to see you two together, we need to get to class. You can continue your affectionate moments when I'm not around. He teased with a smirk. We both blushed at that, then made our way to you. During our training, I discovered a new ability with my lightning and speed. I can create an electrical grenade, which is quite powerful, though I haven't used it on anyone yet. I can tell it's strong enough to knock someone out for a while. With my speed, I figured out how to move my cells quickly enough to phase through objects or become invisible, much like a certain comic book hero I read about. I also found a new energy form, teal energy, which I can charge up and release as a blast wave. I was lost in thought about my new powers when I felt a tap on my arm. It was Itsuka. We stood in front of the UA building, and I put on my face mask to keep my past hidden. I gently squeezed Itsuka's hand to calm her nerves, and she smiled gratefully as we walked into the school. We searched for class 1B but couldn't find it. Izuku, this place is like a maze, I need a map. My friends laughed at my antics. Over the past few months, I've transformed from shy and timid to kind, goofy and confident. We finally found our classroom and I exclaimed, Izuku, why is the door so big? If a person were that size, they wouldn't fit in the desks. Itsuka, I understand that some people have mutation quirks, but this is just too much. Hitoshi, smirking, I bet you 10 schmeckles that someone in here actually needs a door that big. He referenced a show we watched together. I chuckled and opened the door to the classroom. We opened the door to find our classmates inside, and I noticed a girl with green hair getting up to greet us with her disembodied hands. Hey, you must be in our class. I'm Setsuna Tokage, she said with a grin, showing her teeth and offering a handshake. Hey, I'm Izuku Midoriya. I shook her detached hand in greeting. While most people might have been startled by her hand being off her body, I was used to unusual things. After everything I had been through, this was just another typical Monday morning for me. Do you need a hand with this, or do you have it? I joked. Oh, come on. That usually freaks anyone out. How come you didn't? Setsuna asked, surprised. Well, when you've seen the things I've seen, this, I gestured to the floating body parts, isn't really that weird for me. Besides, quirks don't really freak me out. Setsuna and the others looked curious about what I meant, but before they could ask, a tall man entered the room. He had silver hair, a red skin-tight suit, and sharp canines. Good morning. I'm your homeroom teacher, the pro hero Vlad King. We teach our students here at UA differently than others because we teach our students however we want. Right now, we need to go hear a speech from our principal during orientation. After that, we'll do a quirk assessment. Follow me. We followed Vlad King to the orientation ceremony, where my Uncle Nizu walked up on stage to give his speech. Just as we were listening, an earthquake shook the room, causing everyone to panic. Everyone, please remain calm. It's not really an earthquake, it's just Class 1A doing a quirk assessment. There's no need for panic, Nizu reassured us. Everyone calmed down, and we continued with the orientation. Afterward, our teacher instructed us to put on our gym uniforms and meet him outside once we were dressed. I headed toward the locker room, and as I approached my locker, I took off my shirt to change into my gym outfit when a boy with silver hair approached me. Hey dude, how did you get so ripped? And why do you have so many scars? He asked, concerned. My old scars had healed nicely but were still visible. One particular scar on my shoulder looked like a firework had gone off on my body. Years of training, and the scars are from my past, I replied. I'm Tetsu. What happened to you in your past to get those? He inquired. I'll tell you later after the assignment, I promised. We finished getting ready and made our way outside, where Vlad King nodded in satisfaction. Good, you're all here and didn't take too long to get out. Now, Midoriya, you got first place in the entrance exam. What was the farthest you could throw a ball in junior high? He asked. I think it was 64 meters, I answered. Okay, now I want you to step into the circle and throw this ball as hard as you can. He tossed a ball toward me. I grabbed the ball, which felt like a soft ball but seemed to have some sort of tech inside it. I stepped into the circle, looked at the skyline, and got into a throwing stance. I threw the ball using only my super strength because I didn't want to destroy everything around me. A loud boom erupted from the throw, and I waited a few seconds. Vlad King's device beeped, and then he turned to the class. The only way for me to see what level you're at is to test your skills right now. He showed my score, 830 meters. He threw over 800 meters? Someone exclaimed, shocked. Insane, another added. Now let's continue with the test, Vlad King said. We continued with the tests, and I used my super strength and speed throughout. When we finished, we all lined up. Everyone did well except for you, Midoriya, Vlad King said. Did I do something wrong? I asked. Not really, but you were holding back in all the tests. Now I want you to throw the ball again with everything you have. Got it? I nodded, grabbed another ball, and stepped into the circle again. I got into a pitcher stance, activated my white energy along with the fire in my hand, and launched it into the sky. I created a shockwave from the throw and broke the sound barrier several times. After the dust cleared, Vlad King looked at his device and announced my score. 40,578 meters. Everyone gasped in disbelief. Now that I've seen what you're capable of, you may go back to class. The rest of the day, you can talk with your new classmates, he instructed. Hi, sensei, we all replied. Unbeknownst to us, All Might was watching from a distance, eyeing a specific person. So you have multiple quirks? But I need to see more to confirm my suspicions about who I think you work for, he thought. Class 1A POV. Izumi and the others were confused about the rumbling they felt. Then Aizawa entered the classroom and spoke. No need to worry, everyone. It wasn't an earthquake or anything bad. Then what was it, sensei? It made us think something was wrong, Izumi asked. It was just Class 1B doing their quirk test. The shockwave was from one of the students during their ball throw, Aizawa explained. How far did they throw the ball to create such a big shockwave? Momo asked. I asked Vlad King, and he said that the student threw it over 40,000 meters, Aizawa replied. Huh? How's that even possible? Everyone exclaimed. Who can throw farther than me? Where is this guy? I'm going to show him my quirk. Katsuki declared. You're not going to do anything of the sort. Everyone here is on thin ice as it is. One wrong move, and you'll all be expelled and blacklisted from every hero school in the country, Aizawa warned. They all immediately fell silent. Class 1B POV. Everyone, except for Itsuka and Hitoshi, gathered around Izuku, curious about what his quirk was. Hey Midoriya, Setsuna called out. Oh, just call me Izuku, it's easier, I replied. Okay, well Izuku, what's the deal with the fire? I thought you just had enhanced strength and speed, she asked. I rubbed the back of my neck, feeling a bit shy. Well, that's just one of my abilities with my powers. One of your abilities? Yosetsu echoed, intrigued. And by power, do you mean quirk? Izuku asked, looking at his friends. They shrugged, signaling that it was up to him to decide how to respond. Well, actually, I don't have a quirk. Kinoko's eyes widened in disbelief. You don't have a quirk? How is that possible? You can create fire and have enhanced strength and speed. How could you do all that without a quirk? She was clearly confused. Izuku took a deep breath and revealed the scars on his arm. The others, who were already aware of his past, gasped at the sight. The faded scars told a story of pain, leaving them to wonder who could have inflicted such harm and what else he might be hiding. Some of the girls were visibly upset, and even the teacher looked horrified by his injuries. The scars are from those who hurt me in my past, Izuku explained. They've started to fade since I developed my powers. I have some kind of healing factor now, but it only kicked in a few days ago. My powers are growing and evolving at an astonishing rate. I've barely scratched the surface of what I can do. He shared how his former friends and family had treated him for not having a quirk, without naming anyone. He recounted the tragic loss of his father shortly after his mother divorced, how he was chased into a forest by former friends, and how he narrowly escaped being struck by a meteor. He described how his body absorbed the energy from that event, granting him the powers he had now, and how his hair and eyes changed color afterward. He spoke of running away from his old life to start anew and how he met his friends and girlfriend by saving them. And that's pretty much it, he concluded. Moved by his story, his classmates gathered around him for a group hug. Izuku felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of belonging that washed over him after so much loneliness and suffering. A tear of happiness and relief slipped down his cheek as he smiled at his new friends and classmates. Inspired, he suggested they come up with hero names for themselves, using their training as an opportunity to adopt these identities. Okay, I'll start. I'm the symbol of hope, Nexus. His classmates cheered, appreciating the name, especially since his powers originated from a space rock. The next day in class, his uncle entered unexpectedly. Everyone, put on your hero outfits and come to ground beta, Shota instructed before leaving without another word. The class exchanged puzzled glances. Who was that? Kozai asked. That was Eraserhead, Izuku replied. He's an underground hero. When he looks at someone, he can erase their quirk. And you know that because? Kozai pressed. I told you I studied heroes. Now we should get going. I heard he doesn't like students being late. At ground beta, Class 1A was gathered, along with All Might, Aizawa, and Vlad King. They noticed Class 1B arriving, and Aizawa and Vlad King looked impressed. Not bad, you didn't take long at all. Remember, the longer you take, the more lives are at stake, Izawa remarked. Well, Nexus told us you don't like it when people are late, Driller replied. Speaking of him, where is he? Battle Fist asked. I'm coming right now. Izuku called out as he landed with a sonic boom, creating a cloud of smoke from his superhero landing. As the smoke cleared, he stood in his new costume, a stylish yet practical outfit for hero work. He wore a black leather sleeveless vest over an aquamarine green hoodie, dark gray combat pants, and a green utility belt adorned with a multicolored four-pointed star. His green and black running shoes were designed for agility, and he had a mask, goggles, and headphones to keep distractions at bay while running or flying. The jacket featured four-pointed multicolored stars on the back, and he carried katanas made from nanotechnology that could withstand his power and repair themselves if damaged. The symbol of hope, Nexus, is here, he announced. His classmates were in awe of his impressive entrance. Bro, that was so manly. It was like something out of a movie or comic. Real Steel exclaimed. What can I say? I've always liked making an entrance, Izuku replied with a grin. Just then, All Might interrupted. Now that everyone is here, we're going to put you all in combat training. Hey, maybe don't interrupt Mr. Izawa. It shows a lack of respect, Nexus said sternly, surprising everyone with his boldness in addressing the #1 hero. All right everyone, settle down and thanks, Nexus, Izawa said. Now let me explain the rules of the battle training. He outlined the rules. It would be Class 1A versus Class 1B, with each team consisting of 2 heroes and 2 villains. The hero's objective was to capture the bomb or detain the villains, while the villains aimed to capture the heroes or prevent them from getting the bomb until time ran out. Izawa, so, any questions? 1B understood everything, but 1A was a bit confused. Ida, Mr. Izawa, may I ask why we are doing this exercise? Isn't there a better way to approach it? Izuku sighed. Think about it. Pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot. This way, we can get some practice before we go out into the field. Everyone looked at him, surprised that he was able to connect the dots so quickly. Izuku, what? Raises an eyebrow. All Might, well said young man. Now let's draw. Nexus and Real Steel. B. Battle Fist and Lizardy. C. Nighthide and Phantom Thief. Izawa, okay, now that we have you all in teams, we'll draw the opponents. He rummaged through a box for a few seconds and pulled out 2 balls, one labeled Team A and the other labeled Team E, Izumi and Katsuki, and announced they would be the first to fight. Nexus thought to himself, of course they would pair us up with the people I disliked the most. Izawa, you will have 5 minutes to prepare. The villains can go ahead and set up. In 5 minutes, the heroes will enter the building, and the battle will begin. Everyone responded, yes, sir. All Might addressed Yagi and Bakugo. The key to being successful in this challenge is to embody villainy. You need to think from the perspective of an evildoer. Katsuki glanced at Nexus, contemplating his next move. This is where I show who's stronger. Izawa warned, if things go too far, I will step in. But that won't happen, right? He activated his quirk and glared at Katsuki and Izumi. Izumi, okay, got it. Katsuki gritted his teeth and followed Izumi inside the building. Inside the building, Izumi suggested, we should come up with a plan to. Katsuki interrupted, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take out Nexus and Real Steel alone. You stay here and protect the weapon. Got it? Izumi exclaimed, what? Are you crazy? You can't take those guys on alone. We need a plan to win. Katsuki insisted, we don't need a plan. I can win this all by myself. Just stay here and don't let the bomb get captured. He stormed off with determination. Katsuki thought, I'm about to show that loser who's boss. Outside the building, Nexus said, okay, I have a plan. We go in through the 3rd floor fire escape so we can surprise them. I can tell the blonde will be a problem. So once we see him, we split up, and you go find the bomb. By the time you find it, I should be done with him, but if not, you should be able to handle Yagi by yourself. Aris, all right, I got it. Izawa announced, Heroes may enter the building. They climbed up the building through the third-floor fire escape, entered through an open window, and walked through the halls for a minute when Nexus sensed someone approaching. Nexus, my senses are tingling. Someone's coming this way and fast. Aris, okay, I guess this is where we split up? Nexus, yeah, when you find the bomb room, contact me with the earpiece, and I'll meet up with you. They nodded and went their separate ways. Nexus continued walking for another minute when, out of nowhere, Bakugo launched an explosion toward him. Nexus dodged with a backflip, landing on his feet as a piece of his hoodie burned away but quickly repaired itself. Bakugo taunted, "What's the matter? I thought you could put up more of a fight." Nexus replied, "I was just waiting for you to come to me first so I could end this quickly and get to the bomb. You seem like the type to charge in headfirst." Bakugo gritted his teeth at that. He charged at Nexus with a fierce grin. "Bakugo, I'm about to hurt you so badly they'll have to stop the fight." He attempted to attack, but Nexus ducked, grabbing Bakugo's arm and twisting his body. Katsuki's expression shifted to shock. Katsuki thought, impossible. How did he know? He can't be that good. Nexus grunted and slammed Bakugo down to the ground with his strength. The impact created a spiderweb of cracks, and Katsuki coughed from the force. "Nexus, a big right hook. You were too wide, which is how I was able to counter and hit you." He pulled out his katanas, infused with ice and energy. Nexus's katanas glowed with energy while ice smoke emitted from them. Katsuki got up, grunting and scowling, activating his quirk as sparks flew from his hands. "Katsuki, you think you're better than me? Think again." He charged at Nexus, who ran toward him as well, scraping his katanas on the ground, causing ice to spread beneath him. Nexus unleashed ice shards from his katanas, hitting Katsuki and leaving cuts on him. Katsuki, undeterred, continued his charge, and Nexus dodged again, running away while ice spread across the third floor. The area transformed into a winter wonderland, with ice particles swirling in the air. In the monitor room, everyone shivered from the extreme cold produced by the ice, even Aizawa, who was wrapped in his sleeping bag while standing. Beast remarked, "Man, that's a lot of ice." Spinner added, "You can say that again. I can just imagine it's like Antarctica in there." Mina pointed at the screen. "He has an ice quirk just like the Todoroki twins." Ijiro noted, "Yeah, and he managed to trick Katsuki into coming for him. The guy's pretty smart." All Might thought he has an ice quirk as well. This confirms he's working with All for One. I need to keep an eye on him at all times. Aizawa glanced at the number one hero, noticing the stress behind his fake smile. He doesn't know what it is until he notices that he's focused on Izuku and realizes that All Might must think he's suspicious of him. He would need to talk to Principal Nizu after this because he doesn't want Toshinori doing anything to his nephew based on his wild assumptions. "Looks like they're face to face again," Welder commented. Everyone turned to the screen, where Nexus and Bakugo stood face to face in a hallway. In the building from Izuku's perspective. "Nexus, have you found the bomb yet?" he asked. "Yeah, found it all right. What should I do?" RS replied over the headset. "Don't just rush in. Wait for an opening and see if you can get to the bomb. I'm almost done here, I'll meet up with you in a minute." Izuku knew Bakugo's quirk well. He needed sweat to use it, so he just had to keep things cool to prevent him from building up any sweat. Suddenly, the bomber appeared at the other end of the hallway, and one of his gauntlets clicked and glowed ominously. That was trouble. "I'm all charged up," Bakugo declared. Izuku thought, "Yep, this isn't going to end well. For him." "What's the matter? I thought you could actually give me a challenge." "Get over here and show me what you're made of," Bakugo taunted with a wicked grin. "If you're trying to intimidate me, it won't work." "You're not that impressive," Nexus replied. Bakugo growled, then snickered. "You should know that my quirk, explosion, works. I secrete a nitroglycerin-like sweat from my hands and make it blow up. Just imagine what I could do if I had a lot of it stored up." He pulled back the handle of the gauntlet, and a firing pin emerged. "Yep, that's right. These gauntlets aren't just for show. They've been storing my sweat for one massive blast." "Young Bakugo, don't do it. You're going to hurt him," All Might shouted. He'll be fine as long as he dodges. Bakugo replied dramatically. Izuku slowed down time using his super speed and created an energy wall to protect the building from destruction. He sped toward Bakugo, dodging the slow-moving explosions. Quickly, he covered both gauntlets in ice to prevent Bakugo from firing again. Then he wrapped capture tape around Bakugo's body and delivered a swift chop to his neck to knock him out. After that, he sped up to the floor where his teammate was waiting for an opportunity, finally stopping his speed. He was sweating a little. He hadn't gone that fast before while slowing down time, and it was challenging to maintain. Real Steel jumped in surprise at how quickly Izuku had arrived. He looked around, confused about what had just happened. How did you get here so fast? You know what, I'm not even going to ask. Now that you're here, we can take her on together, RS said. Izuku wiped away some sweat. Yeah, I have an idea. He shared his plan with Real Steel, who liked it. They took their positions, and Izuku kicked down the door, rushing in. With surprise on Yagi's face, he delivered a kick to her stomach, knocking her down. This gave Real Steel the chance to touch the bomb, and they had won the first battle. Hero time wins. All Might announced. In the monitor room, no one's perspective. That was insane. VB exclaimed. Did you see how fast he moved? Welder added. Not only that, but he managed to take down Bakugo without causing any damage to the building, DS noted. He also put up a shield to minimize any potential explosion damage, Driller remarked. Aizawa and Vlad King were still in shock, impressed that Izuku had kept everything under control, even when Bakugo was about to set off a massive explosion. Class 1A was astonished to see two of the most powerful students in their class taken down so easily by someone else. All Might felt a cold sweat on the back of his head, trying to remain composed. He thought, he could be trouble. I need to investigate him and ask Nizu for help. From Izuku's perspective, they walked back into the room, where Bakugo and Yagi were still recovering from the blows he had delivered. He saw everyone discussing the battle, and he and Real Steel stood together on the side with the others. Then All Might, Uncle Shota, and Vlad King approached the front of the class. Now then, who do you think was the MVP of this match? Aizawa asked. I think it's pretty clear. It was Nexus. His team not only won, but he also did most of the work during the fight, Momo said. Actually, the MVP was Real Steel because he was the one who did all the work. I was just a distraction. I could have done better. I was too reckless by letting Bakugo go so far. If I had been a second too late, the whole building could have come crashing down on us. Real Steel found the bomb and secured it. That's why he should get MVP, Nexus explained. The room fell silent at his explanation. The toolbox looked shocked at his response, and then Uncle Shota cleared his throat and continued. That's right. While Nexus did most of the fighting, as he said, he was too reckless with his strategy and could have handled it better. So the MVP goes to Real Steel. Izuku then rejoined his friends, who applauded both him and Real Steel for the battle. Real Steel said he didn't have to do that, but he thanked Izuku for it and called him manly. They continued with class, and Hitoshi and Itsuka won their matches. When class ended, they lined up to be dismissed. Alright, now that class is over, you can go and change back into your uniforms, Aizawa instructed. Yes. Class 1B replied. They all left to change back into their uniforms, unaware that a pair of green eyes were watching them with a curious glint. Izumi thought, Nexus. He's familiar. Too familiar. I need to figure this out. In the locker room, they chatted about the class and other topics. So, what do you all think of our class today? Yosetsu asked. It was pretty fun. I can't wait for the next class, Sun replied. Yeah, I can't wait either. But what do you guys think of 1A? Juzo added. They're pretty good, but that's just first impressions. The Bakugo twins have some anger issues, Nairenjiki said. I should know because I faced one of them. Shivers in remembrance. Izuku, you don't even know the half of it. They're all good in their own right, but you know what they say about anger. If you have too much built up inside, it will consume you from the inside out. After we finished changing out of our uniforms, we continued the rest of the day as normal. I spent the evening with Itsuka and Hitoshi. Time skip, Yagi residence. Izumi's POV. I finished my homework and my workout for the night. Sitting on my bed, I thought about that Nexus guy. It felt like I knew him somehow, but I couldn't recall ever meeting someone who looked like him. Then a wild idea crossed my mind. What if Nexus was my brother, the person who had single-handedly taken down Kaken and me? I chuckled at the ridiculous thought. Izumi chuckles, yeah right, like Nexus could be Izuku. He didn't even have a quirk the last time I saw him, and last I checked, Izuku doesn't have white hair. I tried to focus on something else, but my mind wouldn't let go of the idea. It was like a dog with a bone. I decided to do something about it and pulled out an old photo of my brother when he was about 4 years old from my desk. The sad part was that this was the only photo of him in the whole house. Everywhere else, there were pictures of the three of us, but not Izuku. It was as if he didn't even exist, despite the fact that there was a room full of old clothes and bandages. Izumi, slightly tearing up, we really didn't care for him. Did we? With a sigh, I grabbed a box of colored pencils and started to draw over his face. I changed his hair to a snow white, altered his eyes from green to aqua green, and drew a mask on his face. Once I was done, I placed my pencil down and looked at the picture, not expecting much. But what I saw left me in shock. It looked exactly like Nexus, just younger, but it was clear. Izumi, Nexus. He's Izuku. My hands started to shake slightly as everything began to click together like a puzzle. Nexus showed up almost a year after my brother's disappearance. He was the same age Izuku would be today, 15 years old, and no one had mentioned his real name. Instead, he used a hero code name, likely to throw us off about who he really was. I grabbed the picture and ran downstairs, calling out for my parents. They came quickly, looking worried because I had never yelled for them like this before. Inko, what's wrong? You sound really worried. Izumi, panicked, I think you need to see this first. I showed them the picture of Izuku I had on my phone and then the one of Nexus with his new appearance that I had drawn over the original. Tashinori, I don't really get it. Then I showed them the picture of Nexus I took that day. They began to realize what I was talking about with the evidence I had shown. Inko, so you think that Nexus is Izuku? Izumi, I didn't see it before, but now I do. They have the same hairstyle, and not to mention they both sound the same. That mask just muffled his voice so we can't tell who it is. Tashinori, sympathetic honey, I know you miss him, we all do. But I don't think it's him, and even if it is possible, he has a quirk and Izuku was quirkless. Izumi, maybe he finally unlocked it? Do you think he's just a late bloomer? Tashinori, I don't know, but maybe it's worth looking into? I decided to ask my friends to meet me at the beach I had cleaned up, and in an hour, we were all there. Denki, so why did you ask us here? Momo, yeah, what's this all about? I showed them the picture of Izuku that I had drawn over and then a picture of Nexus. Tenya, so you think Izuku is Nexus? I nodded. Ochako, he can't be Izuku, his hair and eyes were different. His personality was also different than Izuku's. Tsuyu, and he has a quirk? Izuku didn't have any. Izumi, yeah, but don't you think he could have awakened a quirk or gotten it from All for One? Remember what Dad said about that guy, how One for All was created. It was created by All for One. He could take and give quirks to people. Shoka thought about it and grabbed my phone to take a closer look. Shoka, if he is Izuku, he probably has contact lenses to change his eye color, the white hair must be dyed or a wig, and he must have worn a mask to hide his freckles. Izumi, I thought of the same thing. Hanta, you guys are missing one fact. Izuku ran away without a trace. Izumi, yeah, but we have to remember he couldn't have gone that far away from Japan. So who's with me to help find out if Nexus is Izuku? Everyone, Koda and Shoto, I'm in. Girls, thoughts Izuku, if it really is you, then I'll bring you home. Koda, thoughts if Izuku is Nexus, then I need to warn him about their plans to figure out who he is. But if he is Izuku, then I'm glad that you're able to be the hero you've always wanted to be. That's the end of this chapter. See you next time. Izuku's POV. My best friend, my girlfriend, and I walked to school, but we were stopped by reporters. One of them came up to me and put the mic in my face. Reporter, hey, can you tell us what it's like to work so closely with All Might? Izuku, sorry, but we need to get to class. See ya. I grabbed my friends and sped off towards the school. I ran us to the door of our classroom. When we stopped, Hitoshi and Itsuka stumbled on their feet, and I rubbed my head sheepishly. Izuku, yeah, I forgot to mention that you might trip while I'm running with you. Chuckles nervously. Hitoshi, maybe next time you should mention it, before you super speed us off faster than the speed of sound? I rolled my eyes at that and opened the door to see everyone chatting with each other. We took our seats, and then our teacher walked inside the room. Vlad King, good morning class. You all did well in yesterday's combat training. I rewatched everything on video and reviewed your team's results with Mr. Aizawa. There's a lesson to be learned from how you performed. Even if you won, don't think you can't improve. For those who didn't win, don't be too hard on yourselves. That's why we're here to support your training. Vlad King, now that that's all settled, we can get down to business. You need to choose a class representative. Everyone got excited. Hitoshi, Itsuka, and Izuku all wanted to be class rep. I had enough, so I stood up and raised my voice. Izuku, please stop yelling. They all quieted down and I continued. Izuku, if we're going to do this, we should use a voting system for class rep to see who deserves it. Everyone agreed, and we conducted the vote. The results were in. Izuku 6, Itsuka 3. The rest received 1 vote each, not counting their own, or none at all. Then Itsuka and I stood in front of the class. Izuku, thank you for voting for me as class representative. I'll do my best to lead the class. Itsuka, yeah, I will too. Later, in the cafeteria, I was eating with my friends and girlfriend. I used Itsuka's makeup to cover my freckles. Don't judge me, I needed to ensure my past couldn't see any details about me, and my freckles were a dead giveaway since they formed a diamond shape. We chatted about various topics, and somehow, we ended up discussing whether I could run faster than All Might, which piqued my interest. Sure, hi. We need to consider how fast All Might can go and how fast you can go. Speaking of which, how fast can you run? Izuku, when I got my powers, I could reach 300 miles per hour, but after training, I've gone a bit over Mach 1 without even trying. I haven't had the chance to see how much faster I can go. Everyone's jaws dropped at the thought of me running as fast as the speed of sound. Hold on. Are you saying you've gone faster than the speed of sound? Setsuna, that's insane. Tetsu, that's so manly. Wipes away tears. Manga, I never imagined someone could go that fast. Then an alarm blared. Security breach level 3, everyone please evacuate the building. We all heard that and started to exit, but the hallway was crowded with people pushing and panicking to get out. I found myself pressed against the window and saw it was just the media outside. I felt frustrated that the media had caused such a panic over something minor. I began to glow with pink energy and unexpectedly created a portal above everyone and beneath me. I let out a surprised yelp as I fell through the portal and into the air. Activating my power, I floated above everyone, gliding to the wall and grabbing onto the exit sign to avoid falling. Clearing my throat, I shouted, Izuku, everyone, stop. Everyone froze and looked at me. Izuku, it's just the press outside, you don't need to run around in a panic. Now, please leave slowly and calmly so no one gets squished. If you're hurt, go to Recovery Girl's office to get checked out. Everyone followed my instructions, and as soon as everyone but my friends left, I jumped down and landed next to Hitoshi. Hitoshi, did you know you could even teleport? Izuku, nope. Well, at least I found out what the pink energy does. Whispering seriously, how many powers are in that space rock? Izuku, whispering I don't really know, it didn't come with instructions. Jokingly. Everyone rolled their eyes at my joke, and we headed back to class. The following week, Vlad King made an announcement for the class. VK, alright, today we're going to do hero rescue training at a facility. We'll be joined by Class 1A as well. All Might and another teacher will be there to assist with the lesson. You're all allowed to wear your hero costumes, but remember that you might not be used to them yet, so they could limit your abilities. Now, everyone start getting ready. 1B, we all grabbed our suitcases and walked into the locker room to change. A few minutes later, we headed to the bus area. I looked back to see the girls behind me, smiling as I noticed Itsuka making friends with our classmates while Hitoshi and I were doing the same. Moments later, we were outside and saw the UA teachers waiting for us. "Okay, good you're all here. We're still waiting on Class A, so just keep to yourselves until we have to go." Everyone, minus Class A, yes. We started chatting about random topics. I honestly don't know how we got onto the subject, but we began discussing how people might act if we were in a movie. We talked about various things for about 15 minutes until Class 1A arrived. Before that, my uncle Aizawa wanted to speak to me alone, so we went somewhere private. "Nexus, what's wrong? Why did you bring me all the way over here to talk?" I think you should know that Class A is catching on to who you really are." "Nexus, what? How could they recognize me? I made sure they couldn't by wearing a mask. I've even gotten taller, and that's not enough to fool them." He was 5 feet 5 inches before he got his powers and is now around 6 feet after a growth spurt. I don't know, but I overheard them discussing how they want to figure out if it's really you. I thought you should know for your safety." Nexus, size okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Izumi's POV. My friends and I were still surprised that Nexus teleported us away like that strange pink gateway. He definitely has more than one quirk, but how many does he have, and how is his body able to handle it? The normal human body can only manage one quirk, 2 if the person has the right structure, like me with one for all. I saw my uncle carrying Nexus on his back toward the back exit. Nexus didn't have his mask on, but his face was partially covered by Aizawa's scarf. I think I caught a glimpse of his face and what looked like a freckle on his cheek. It's more evidence that Nexus might be my brother, but I could be mistaken since his face was covered in dust and obscured by a scarf. My instincts tell me I'm onto something, but before I can investigate further, a hand rests on my shoulder. I turn to see Mina looking at me with confusion. "Mina, we're leaving. Are you coming?" Izumi, "Yeah, I just thought I saw something familiar." I set the thought aside for now. I'll figure it out later with my friends and uncover the truth. As I board the bus, I take one last glance at Nexus being loaded into an ambulance. Izumi, thoughts I hope he's alright. Izuku's POV. I wake up in a field of flowers in every color imaginable, looking up at the beautiful stars glowing above me. I pick myself up and try to figure out where I am, but everything is a blur. I glance down and see I'm still in my hero suit, though my katanas are missing. Izuku, where am I? Hello. Echoes ring out as I replay the events in my mind. The attack on the USJ? Sending everyone away to keep them safe, taking down the villains, and how one managed to escape through a gateway. After that, everything fades. The last thing I remember is falling into my uncle's arms before blacking out. Then, I notice a silhouette in the distance, but I can't make out who it is. Izuku, hey! Can you tell me where I am? I try to use my speed to reach them, but for some reason, it doesn't work. I decide to run normally instead. As I get closer, I can tell it's a woman. When I finally see her clearly, she has short black hair, a white cape, yellow gloves, white boots, and a black skin-tight sleeveless bodysuit with a small red belt around her waist. She has a strong build and isn't looking in my direction. Izuku, miss? Do you know where I am? She turns around, looking at me with confusion. Nana, who are you? Wait, where am I? Izuku, you don't know? I just woke up here. She steps closer, examining my face. I feel a bit nervous with her so close. Nana, you look like my father if he had white hair and freckles. Wait, what's your mom's name? Izuku. Inko Yagi. Why does that matter? Confused. Nana, eyes widening, what's her maiden name? Izuku. I think it was Shimura. She covers her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Nana, I can believe it. After all this time. Starts to cry. Izuku, miss, are you okay? Is something wrong? Nana, I'm your grandma. Runs up and hugs him tightly. She embraces me joyfully, spinning around before we both fall to the ground, laughter and smiles lighting up her face. I'm still trying to process this revelation meeting my grandmother, whom I didn't even know existed. How could this day get any crazier? Izuku sits up a little. Wait, so you're my grandma? That means you're my mother's mom? Nana wipes away a tear. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm just so excited to meet my daughter's child, especially since she married my successor, the best man I know. Smiles widely. I widen my eyes at that. She knew the blonde idiot, and he was her successor. But a successor for what? One for all? I'll have to come back to that later, but I feel bad. I should tell her the truth about what happened, right? Izuku, sad expression. Actually, there's something I need to tell you about your successor, and it's not good. It's terrible. She looks at me with confusion as I recount everything that happened to me. By the end, she's in tears. Nana, I can't believe they did that to you, all because you were quirkless. I never should have given him one for all. I'm to blame for what he did to you, and you should have gotten the power instead of your sister. I'm so sorry. Cries harder. I move closer and hug her tightly. Izuku, it's okay. You couldn't have known they would do this to me. It isn't your fault because I didn't even know you existed until now. How can I be mad at someone I didn't even know? From what I can tell, he manipulated you into thinking his ideals were good, but in reality he only cared for himself. She cries into my shoulder for a few minutes before pulling back. Izuku, feeling better? Nana wipes her tears. Yeah, thank you, Izuku. I smile at her, and suddenly, the flowers around us glow brightly, and the stars shine like the sun. I start to glow as I did back at the USJ when I first discovered my powers. Panic rises within me as everything feels so sudden. Izuku, what's happening? Nana grabs my hands. Izuku, calm down. You're okay. Just breathe for me, alright? Just stay calm. Izuku, okay. I take a deep breath, feeling everything settle down. The glow remains, but it's not as overwhelming as before. I look at my grandma, who smiles warmly at me. Nana, good, you're in control again. You need to learn how to keep your emotions in check, otherwise, you could lose control again and hurt people. I nod, feeling my body start to fade as if I'm returning to my own. Izuku, I think I'm starting to go back to my body, but I can't just leave you here. You're going to be all alone. Nana smiles. I'm never alone because I'm always going to be with you. Izuku, I told Toshinori this once, but clearly he didn't listen. The ones who are always smiling are the strongest in the world. I thought your father could bring peace to the world, but it isn't real peace, it's false. I know you can bring hope to those who need it. Izuku, you really think so? But how will I know that I'm ready? Nana, I know you have the true heart of a hero and that you'll do anything to save people. But you won't know when you're ready because it's just a leap of faith that you're going to have to take. I nodded at that. She held my face and gave me a gentle kiss on the forehead. With a small smile, she hugged me again. I'll see you again, I know it. But you need to go back. I'll be watching you though, don't forget. I hugged her back one last time, and the next time I opened my eyes, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. A weight on my leg caught my attention, and I looked down to see my girlfriend resting her head on my lap. I smiled at her. She looked adorable dozing off, and I almost didn't want to wake her. I gently stroked her hair as she slept, and then the door opened softly, revealing my Uncle Shota and Grandma. Oh good, you're awake, he said, activating his quirk. Now I have a chance to properly scold you for taking on those villains alone. I gulped, a cold sweat trickling down my back. I placed my headphones over Itsuka so she wouldn't wake up. He continued, do you have any idea how reckless you were? Taking on those villains alone like a pro? If you had been hurt, I swear I would have found a way to bring you back just to scold you again. We just got you back, and I'm not about to lose you again. You were nearly passed out when we got there. If we hadn't arrived in time, you could have been taken by them or worse. I hung my head in shame, but then he surprised me with his next words. He sighed and chuckled a little. But even more so, I'm actually impressed. What? I replied, confused. I'm impressed that you were able to take on so many villains single-handedly and barely got a scratch. But that doesn't mean what you did was right. In the end, you still managed to keep your classmates and the people you care about safe and out of danger. So for that I'm impressed. Well, that's surprising coming from you. Wait, how long have I been out? 3 hours. She and your classmates have been worried about you all day, and you cut it a bit close today. You'll have to be more specific. I've been cutting it close all day, I chuckled while stroking Itsuka's hair. Your face. I looked at him, confused for a second, then realized what he meant. My headgear had fallen off during the fight, and he had carried me without my mask or goggles, leaving my face completely exposed. Oh no, did they see my... No, I took you out the back exit so no one would see you. Here, he said, handing me my mask and goggles. I think these belong to you. I took them from his hand and thanked him. I tapped the watch to send the nanotech back in, and within seconds, they returned to the watch. Then my grandma approached me and lightly tapped me with her cane. Oh, why do you like hitting me with your cane? That's what you get for sending them here without coming yourself, young man, she sighed. You're fine. You didn't need any help healing because of your power. You just needed a little rest from overusing it. That only happened before when I used that weird golden form, but I discovered another energy. Look. A purple tendril popped out from my back. Interesting. How does it feel? She asked, observing them. A little weird. I can't make them come out from anywhere else on my body, only my back. Can you move them? I moved one over to a table and picked up a cup. Yeah, before it felt strange because I had never used it until now, but now it feels fine, just a little stingy sensation. I still have to get used to them. I retracted the tendrils, and then Itsuka began to stir awake. I glanced at my uncle and grandma, but they had vanished in an instant. I deadpanned at this. They just left me hanging. Oh, and I thought I was the only one with super speed here. My girlfriend woke up with her hair in her face and a little drool on her cheek. She shook her head to wake herself up and took off my headphones. Izuku? You're awake. I nodded, but before I could say anything, she hugged me tightly. Tears began to fall as she cried into my chest, and I just tried to be there for her. Seriously, is this starting to become a pattern? Shoo, it's okay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. Why? How could you just leave me like that? You idiot, she cried. I'm sorry, but I couldn't let those villains hurt you or anyone else. I'd rather it be me than anyone I care about. If you had been hurt in the attack or worse, I don't know what I would do. She cried into my chest for a moment, then eventually calmed down. You okay? I asked. She nodded. Thanks, I needed that. Oh, and one more thing. She leaned in and kissed me on the lips. I was taken aback but quickly kissed her back. Blushing and smiling, I love you too, Izuku. After that, we decided to leave. When we stepped outside, our class was waiting for us, concerned because I had passed out. I assured them I was fine and they didn't need to worry, but they still did. My life had truly taken a turn for the better since I ran away and discovered my powers. Izumi's POV. I walked into my room and closed the door. Sitting down at my desk, I started my homework. After finishing, I took a shower and changed into pajamas. I lay down on my bed, trying to fall asleep, but I couldn't. I tossed and turned for a good hour, unable to shake one thought from my mind. Nexus seemed more and more like my brother, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Izuku was Nexus or Nexus was Izuku. I got up and went downstairs for some water, but when I reached the kitchen, I found the fridge open and Izuku standing there. Izuku, you're back! I exclaimed, running toward him and hugging him tightly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to become a hero because I feared you would get hurt trying to be a quirkless hero. But my foolishness clouded my judgment, and I couldn't see the damage I was causing. I'm so sorry. He hugged me back, and it felt comforting to have him with me again. Izuku, he patted my head. It's okay, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here, I'm right here. I cried into his shoulder, but I felt something warm and wet on my hands. Looking over my brother's shoulder, I saw blood on my hands. What? Why is there? Izumi. Why? He asked, his voice filled with confusion. I looked down and realized I was holding a knife, its blade embedded in Izuku's chest. Oh my god. Not again. I pulled it out and he collapsed to the ground. Dropping the knife, I held him in my arms, desperately trying to stop the bleeding with a rag I found nearby. No, stay with me. Don't worry, I can fix this. I can fix this. I pleaded. He coughed, blood staining his lips. Izumi. But I thought you said you would always protect me. No matter what. His voice faded as he took his last breath. No. But I didn't mean for this to happen. Please, don't go. I cried, holding him tightly as my hands and clothes became stained with his blood. The next moment, I opened my eyes to find myself back in front of my middle school. I looked down to see I was in my school uniform, but his blood still covered me. What's going on? I wondered aloud. I walked toward the doors of my school, finding it eerily empty. Subconsciously, I headed to my old classroom, hoping to find something unusual. As I approached, I heard someone crying. I opened the door to see my brother sitting at his desk, his head buried in his arms. Izuku, come on, we need to get you out of here. Please, look at me. He lifted his head and I gasped in shock. His face was distorted, replaced by black, beady eyes and sharp fangs, a dark liquid dripping from his mouth. Izuku! He stood up, transforming into a four-legged beast with green fur, metallic claws, and a jaw that split into two. Bone spikes jutted from his back, and a scorpion-like tail swayed menacingly behind him. He resembled a monstrous creature that would terrify even the bravest of gods. With a roar, he lunged at me, and I sprinted out of the room, racing down the hallway toward the exit. The hall seemed endless as the beast pursued me like prey. I managed to hide in a room, luring him away. Oh man, this is insane. I think I lost him for now, I breathed, catching my breath. But when I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a different place. My clothes changed once more. I was in my casual clothes, still stained with blood, and I saw my younger self playing in the park with my brother. Come on, Izuku. Let's play, my younger self called. Okay, wait up, Izumi, he replied as they played tag. I watched as I tripped over a branch, falling to the ground. My younger self began to cry, and my brother rushed to. Oh, my leg. It hurts. I cried. Don't worry, I'm coming, he said, kneeling beside me. He took a tissue from his pocket and began to clean the cut. Suddenly, I realized what day it was. Wait, this is the day a year before we went to the quirk doctor. Thank you, my younger self said. You're welcome, it's what a brother does for his sister, he smiled, finishing the patching. Hey, Izuku? I asked. Yeah. I want you to promise me something. What is it? I want you to promise that you'll never abandon me, no matter what. We stick together. Can you promise me that? I promise, but only if you do the same, he replied earnestly. I promise, pinky swear? I held up my pinky finger. He smiled and connected his pinky with mine. With this, I swear that we'll never give up on each other, never ever. We laughed and continued to play until our parents approached. Kids, we're leaving, our mother called happily. Come on. Or else the ice cream's going to melt, our father added. Ice cream. Yay. We cheered, running to our parents. They picked us up, me in my dad's arms and Izuku in my mom's. There they are, my baby boy and my little angel, our mother said joyfully. Who's ready for ice cream? Our father asked. Izuku and I cheered excitedly. I fell to my knees, covering my mouth as tears streamed down my face, overwhelmed by the memory. All of this. It all started when I thought the only way to protect him was to bully him from his dream of being a hero. And now, Izuku's gone. He's gone. Suddenly, I saw a shadow approaching. It was my brother, but he was shrouded in darkness, with only two glowing green orbs visible. He reached for me, grabbing me by the neck. I felt myself choking as he lifted me into the air, the orbs shifting from forest green to blood red. Izuku, please don't do this. This isn't you. I cried. You turned me into this. This is your fault. We made a promise to never give up on each other, and look where that got us. You got all the power you wanted while I was abandoned and forgotten. He was right. Everything he said was true. For 10 years, my friends, my family, and I had forgotten him, leaving him to fend for himself while we bullied him for being quirkless. It was something beyond his control. The only choice he made was to keep fighting, and look where it led him. You're right. Everything we did to you was awful, and that's why I need to try to fix it. By any means necessary. As soon as I said that, he looked at me and dropped me into a black void. I screamed as I fell, and when I hit the ground, black tendrils wrapped around my body. I looked up to see my brother, looking normal again. Izuku, help. Please. I reached out a hand. Izuku, goodbye. I don't need you in my life. No, Izuku. Izuku. Those were the last words I could manage before more tendrils emerged, covering my mouth. They pulled me into the darkness, and when I was completely enveloped, I woke up in my bed, panting heavily and feeling terrified about what had just happened. Was that all just a dream? I wondered, curling up in a ball as tears streamed down my face. Izuku, where are you? I cried softly. I wept myself to sleep that night, unable to shake the feeling of how badly I had messed things up in my family. My mental state had taken a turn for the worse since that day.